This is Ram Dictionary, and today I'm going to narrate second part of What If Naruto was chosen by strongest Green Lantern ring. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
The shattered room that had been Orochimaru's second hiding place was once again serene. As a result of the creature's unexpected attack, the bodies of his test subjects and prisoners were scattered across the moonlit room. Now it lay flat on the floor, struggling futilely under his protege's control. Orochimaru gazed hungrily at his future host and student selection. Sasuke was crouched, his level .2 curse seal wings folded, every muscle in his body tensed to its maximum tension. His own blood burned the poor enemy he was holding as it trickled from his mouth. Orochimaru remarked, "Come, Sasuke-kun. Let me bask in this magnificent power." His pupil pivoted his head and snarled, his teeth clenched and exposed. Even though his mouth and eyes were constantly bleeding, none of it touched the ruby colored ring that had just moments before pressed itself onto his right middle finger or his new, equally crimson suit. Sasuke. Rage. It was 2 days ago. At the base of a tumbling waterfall, Uchiha Sasuke sat in quiet meditation. The blue liquid crashed into the lake that concealed Orochimaru's new hiding place, creating thick foam and fog that made it difficult to see the rock he was on. In contrast to the roar of the waterfall surrounding him, his breathing was quiet and slow. The water fell on his half-naked body, deceptively heavy and bitterly cold, but his muscles stayed relaxed. At the top of the cascade, a solitary pebble shattered from a shriveled stone. It was drawn downward by gravity and headed for Sasuke. The latter remained motionless. The stone drew closer. With skill, Sasuke pulled his katana out of its sheath and cut straight up. The tiny rock was neatly cut in half by the sharp blade, and the two shards fell on the bottom rock, just to Sasuke's sides, avoiding him. A luminous bolt of lightning shot up the falling water from the sword's tip, drowning out the waterfall's roar and replacing it with a crackling sound like birds. At the top, it cut through the boulder from which the pebble had broken, climbing straight up with minimal splintering. The rock blossomed out after being split by the force of the blow, preventing further water from flowing down the middle. Sasuke sheathed his blade, halted the flow of his chakra, and got to his feet. What had been a single cascade at his sides had split into two smaller waterfalls that were no longer able to reach him. "Magnificent," Orochimaru exclaimed. He salivated with pleasure as he examined his prized pupil. He had done a good job of teaching Sasuke over the years, but the boy's innate talent was so great that the Sannin could not teach him much more. Sasuke was more than ready to take over as Orochimaru's new host, and he would soon be prepared to use the body transfer jutsu once more. "Sasuke-kun, soon you will be mine." Orochimaru waved her long hair in a puff of air. "Kabuto, you have something to inform?" Orochimaru asked, keeping his eyes fixed on Sasuke. Another ninja, wearing a pair of round glasses and simpler robes, came slowly up behind the Konoha defector. "Orochimaru. Sama, our spies have returned from Konohagakure with information about this new protector of theirs." Orochimaru had been anticipating Kabuto's message since the initial reports of the Metal Country's devastation. He pivoted, concentrating on his devoted follower. He knew the Uchiha would listen to everything he said, even if Sasuke had no interest in joining them, so he didn't bother to invite him. "Continue." "It seems the first reports were accurate," Kabuto said. "A leaf ninja has acquired a potent weapon that allows him to conjure any solid object he imagines out of light, as well as fly without restriction. He calls himself the Green Lantern, and he is not alone. Oh, our spies indicate that a second lantern battled the Green Lantern in the Forest of Death. This one's attacks were colored yellow instead of green, and he appeared to be much more vicious. Have they uncovered the identity of these lanterns?" Kabuto gave a negative shake of his head. At this, Kabuto looked past his master and toward Sasuke. "Not of the yellow lantern, Orochimaru. Sama. However, we have positively identified the Green Lantern, and you won't believe who it is." Orochimaru immediately figured out who the Green Lantern was after following his sight. "The Kyuubi brat? That is correct, my lord. Uzumaki Naruto." Hearing his old teammate's name made Sasuke a little more interested in the discussion. He didn't leave his position, but he did turn his head slightly to look at the two of them. The ability to create anything he wishes out of light, not an ability the Kyuubi should grant, Orochimaru thought. "Our spies indicate that it was not related to the Kyuubi," agreed Kabuto. "The green energy he now wields seems to be concentrated on an emerald ring." "Fascinating," I said. "Orochimaru. I would like to see this power for myself." Orochimaru. "Sama, that might be challenging," Kabuto answered. "It appears Naruto-kun's new powers were exhausted in repelling his opponent." Orochimaru said, Then let us focus our efforts on this other lantern. Sasuke-kun? The Uchiha asked, turning completely to look at his teacher. I have a mission for you. A day ago. Silently, Sasuke flew through the dense forests that made up the northern land of fire. Orochimaru's request was straightforward. Sneak into the land of fire and obtain first-hand knowledge of Naruto's lantern adversary. As soon as his new instructor completed the order, Sasuke quietly departed. Under the guise of jointly killing Itachi, he temporarily obeyed Orochimaru's orders despite his deteriorating health. But after Sasuke had gotten all he required from him, he passed a former Uchiha clan hiding place on the way to Konoha. The clan's former allies still occupied the secret safe house, which was situated in a dying, corrupt city. The woman was still known for obtaining reliable rumors and intelligence, which was advantageous to Sasuke. Sasuke thought she might have information about Konoha's enemy lantern in addition to the chance to gather supplies. He did not anticipate arriving at a desolate metropolis but rather a deserted, shattered, and crumbling ghost town. Yo! If it isn't Sasuke! The black-haired Uchiha was met at the safe house entrance by a talking ninja cat. The hideout was reportedly spared the brunt of whatever happened to the rest of the city because it was tucked away among the sewer system. Sasuke said casually, Denka. Where is the granny cat? She's back at the storehouse cleaning up, the cat replied instead. The place held up all right, but whatever happened made a heck of a mess. I'd like to get my paws on whoever raised hell up there, they crushed my favorite bowl. Take me to her, said Sasuke. Denka grinned and said, hey, you didn't forget the goodies, did ya? Reaching into his robes, Sasuke produced a tiny bottle. The cat turned around and entered the hallways after saying, niece, we could use the catnip after that scare. Stay close. Denka led Sasuke into the interior of the hiding place. The city's sewers formed a dizzying labyrinth that no uninvited visitor had ever successfully traversed. The numerous passages, many of which had almost collapsed, took them longer to navigate than Sasuke had expected, even with the cat's assistance. Sasuke and Denka eventually arrived at the Uchiha safe house's main chamber. Although Sasuke had only been inside once, his memory of it was different from how it was now. All of the different pots had fallen from their shelves and were now broken on the floor, the rugs and curtains were filthy and torn, and different supplies were scattered everywhere after spilling out of broken crates. In the rear, an elderly woman with long hair, a big kimono, a stuffy nose, and tiny cat ears grabbed a tiny pipe from beneath a cluster of cats. Her words to Sasuke were, I didn't expect you just yet. And he said, nor did I, Granny Cat, I needed information, but it seems my timing may not be the best. Sasuke silently moved forward and started gathering objects from the ground. Nonsense, the crone said, your timing is perfect. Help me clean up this mess and you can take whatever you need free of charge. While the ninja cats cleaned the surrounding hallways, the two quietly cleaned the main room. Sasuke continued to examine the city's devastation. There were no dead, either civilian or enemy, despite the damage. It was not surprising that there were not many friendly casualties because the city was already in a state of decay and abandonment. Since there would be little to no resistance to any attack, this would also account for the absence of attacker remnants. However, Sasuke did not detect any signs of a large invading army or tracks when he entered the city. There must have been a small attacking force. As if she could read Sasuke's thoughts, the granny cat declared, it was a singular assault. According to Sasuke, I thought as much, he remarked, a small platoon would have no chance of inflicting the kind of structural damage I saw outside. About the buildings that were damaged, was it an Akatsuki? Nekoba remained silent. She removed a fortune cat figurine that, fortunately, had managed to escape a ruined destiny. I guess Ceiling Cat still likes me after all, she remarked as she set the statue atop a crate. Sasuke nudged, you haven't responded to my question. The woman shot back, I don't need to, you already suspect the answer yourself, she remarked, turning to dig up strewn about ninja supplies. Out of respect for the elderly woman who had previously assisted his clan so greatly, Sasuke refrained from responding. In the end, she was correct. The civilian corpses would have been left behind by an Akatsuki. He remarked, I suppose I'm in luck as well, tell me this, then. Was it a flying enemy dressed in yellow and attacking with light? While lifting a scroll, Nekoba paused. Sasuke had the solution. She said, so your snake of a teacher has you chasing after this villain, is he? As it happens, you just missed him, as she put the scroll back on the wall. But I would not chase after him if I were you. You might as well be just a kitten against him. Tell me about him. The old woman sat down on her tatami and completely stopped cleaning. After lighting her pipe, she took a deep breath and released a thin cloud of smoke. Other cats were drawn to her by her sweet scent. The villagers thought the clouds had finally parted. It was as if for the first time in years, the sun's golden light was piercing the drape of smog they had brought upon themselves. The people ran out to the streets, cheering and clapping, filled with a hope they had not felt for a long time. Even I was fooled for a second. Just outside the mat, Sasuke took a seat in front of her, but my cats knew better. Denka and Hina sensed the oncoming storm first. My granddaughter, Tamaki, felt it too. Then we all saw how the light descended from the sky, split into uncountable beams, and sniped half of the city towers. The villagers' hope burned away to panic when what they thought was the sun broke apart, revealing a man dressed in a yellow and black uniform. Sasuke thought aloud, so the reports of light manipulation abilities were true. Tell me more about his attack. Nekoba stopped smoking a bit more and continued. I'd never seen anything like it before. This enemy. He wielded the yellow light as his weapon, and the light did his bidding without question. Whatever he conjured with that gold light of his, the townspeople feared it and ran from it. Wherever his light shone, the buildings exploded and collapsed. Sasuke questioned her, was he wearing a yellow ring, by any chance? As a matter of fact, he was. Some wandering ninjas noticed this first and focused their jutsus on it. But this invader. He either blocked them with the light or dispelled them effortlessly. Another ninja, perhaps? That would be my conclusion as well, agrees Nekoba. So why didn't he kill anyone? Is what Sasuke asked aloud. As for Nekoba, if I knew any better, he seemed to be holding back. Just as the attack started, he said, show me your greatest fears, and he succeeded. As the attack drew on, the villagers feared him more and more, and this only made him more determined, and his light more focused and bright. Sasuke inferred, as if the people's fear empowered him, that would explain why he refrained from killing anyone. Perhaps, the woman said, but I do not believe it was simply that. Killing a few people would have accomplished instilling more fear, yet he stayed his hand. Sasuke questioned, did he instill fear in you? After hesitating, the granny cat continued to smoke. I've had a full life, she replied accordingly. If it was my time to die, I was ready for it. Sasuke asserted, but you were still afraid. He narrowed his eyes and looked directly at Nekoba, saying, to scare someone is one thing, but to truly frighten. You know who he is, don't you? As her cats dispersed, Nekoba glared back at Sasuke. The final word, you should return to your master, was sneered at by her. Armed with the yellow ring, this shinobi's strength surpasses yours and Orochimaru's combined. Retorting, I know of another ninja with a similar ring, so it becomes evident there may be more of these lantern rings that could be used against him. Then let this other ninja face this so-called yellow lantern. From what little I could tell, the power of the ring stems from something as primal as chakra itself, but amplified to levels that may rival even the tailed beasts. Even one such as you would be incapable of standing up to him. For a long time, Sasuke and the elderly woman just stared at one another in silence. When the smoke in her pipe subsided, Nekobe's cats cautiously came back toward her. Saying, tell me who he is, Sasuke broke the hush. Her response was, it would make no difference. I will be the judge of that. Tell me, now, you cannot defeat him. Grandma, I'm back, a third voice said, breaking the silence. Nekoba cocked her head to see her young granddaughter, Tamaki, enter carrying a bunch of supply boxes. Sasuke remained motionless. She started stacking the boxes on the floor in the adjacent room. She finally looked back and saw Sasuke sitting with her grandmother. I brought back the supplies you wanted. It was a bit tough, I mean, all the townspeople looted most and then ditched after that yellow super. Itachi attacked, but I managed to. Oh, we have a guest, she said. Nekoba grimaced and moaned, Aya. Seemingly unaffected by Tamaki's news, Sasuke sat motionless. Hi there. Can I get you any? Tamaki paused, shivering bitterly. Sasuke had turned his head and gazed at her, his face grim and his Sharingan fully charged. Tamaki stepped back a few paces and stumbled over the boxes she had just placed. Sasuke got up while continuing to observe the young girl. Nekoba yelled at him, Sasuke. Uchiha, who had black hair, turned to face her. Though she stayed seated, the granny cat met his threatening Sharingan glare without flinching. When the boy threatened their elder, all of the cats in the room backed up, but they all lifted their tails and hissed. Their display did not deter Sasuke. What he had come for was his. The hideout was no longer available for use. He turned and walked away without a word, leaving the old woman, her terrified granddaughter, and their many pets to live alone in the now dead city. An hour ago, Sasuke made his way back to Orochimaru's hiding place. The night had long since supplanted the sun's light, and it had taken him longer to get back. He wasn't rushing. Orochimaru and his schemes were now irrelevant. Itachi. Itachi was always at the center. His brother's death was the only motivation behind everything he did after the Uchiha clan was destroyed. Even though Itachi spared him, he had destroyed any compassion or hope he had left on that fateful night. For a while, Sasuke believed he had killed his beloved as well. He discovered during his brief tenure on Team 7 that he still had space in his heart for friendship and possibly even camaraderie. He became weak as a result. Sasuke believed he finally had the means to kill Naruto when his brother first came looking for him. However, Itachi removed him with ease and demonstrated to him that he had no space in his heart for either love or friendship. Thus, Sasuke also chose to kill that. In order to continue training, he broke off his ties to Team 7 and all of Konoha and joined Orochimaru. There wouldn't be any more hope, love, or compassion. He only allowed his animosity toward Itachi to persist. Because of his hatred, he was able to fulfill his potential as a Uchiha and outperform his most recent instructor in a matter of 2 years. He was on his way to Itachi. However, if the statements made by the granny cat and her granddaughter were accurate, Itachi was now out of reach for any ninja. He had instilled in the entire city the same fear that his brother had instilled in him the last time they had met. And if he was correct, the yellow weapon had come to him because of the same fear he had induced. A weapon that depended on the imagination, guile, and fear of the user, qualities that Itachi was masterful at. Itachi, muttered Sasuke. A few miles from the entrance to the lair, he came to a halt in the middle of a clearing. He spotted a distant rock that was roughly twice his size and asked, "Is my hatred not enough? Has all this been for nothing?" He had impaled it with an electrically charged Chidori a second later, and the cracking that resulted broke it into pebbles. Damn it. Itachi was beyond his grasp once more. He couldn't stop him as he was. The most damning aspect, however, was that the ninja who embodied everything Sasuke had thrown away was the only other ninja capable of defeating his brother. Naruto. He uttered. He saw that his old friend with the blonde hair was grinning, the same smile that some assumed came from a shinobi joke. It could just as easily be ridiculing him to Sasuke. Naruto's selection by the Green Ring was undoubtedly influenced by his snide remarks about friendship, ties, hard work, and perseverance, all of which Sasuke had rejected. When Sasuke said, "I have nothing left," his hatred was insufficient now. Only Naruto's empowered will could defeat Itachi's empowered fear, not his hatred. He had long since eradicated the traits that could now kill his brother. Now, all the power he had gained was useless. His smoldering anger was all that remained. He said, "I hate you." He struck the floor. His knuckles bled from repeated punches to the ground. Itachi. Naruto. "I hate you," he repeated. "I hate you, Itachi, Naruto, Orochimaru, Konoha. I hate you all." Sasuke. Immediately, his training took over and his thoughts ceased. After drawing his sword, Sasuke made a full circle. His senses failed to pick up the source of the voice, and his blade struck nothing. With his weapon still out, he straightened up and waited patiently in silence for anything. Uchiha Sasuke. Sharingan. Sasuke exclaimed, and the Uchiha's superior power appeared in his eyes at once. Sasuke carefully determined that the voice was coming from above, even though it seemed to come from everywhere. A faint red shooting star streaked past, but otherwise he was met only by the starry night sky. He looked off into the distance, but the closest trees were too far away for an assailant to make such a loud noise. The voice paused mid-sentence. Uchiha saw. A faint red light appeared from the east as Sasuke looked up again. He quickly headed west before zipping back east and disappearing from view. "I am not afraid of you or your new tricks, Itachi. Show yourself," he screamed. There was nothing to greet him. Over the next few minutes, Sasuke carefully inspected his property, but again, nothing unusual caught his eye. The light never came back. Sasuke carefully considered his options before closing his eyes and putting his katana away. A voice shouted, "Uchiha Sasuke of Sector 2814, from right behind him." As soon as he turned, Sasuke saw a streaking light race toward him from the distant forest path. It moved too quickly for him to have time to get ready. He could only notice the color of whatever light it held as it came closer to him. The color wasn't red, neither green nor yellow, for that matter. The color was orange. "You're mine." Sasuke was hit squarely by the light and fell to the ground. Sasuke attempted to stand up, but he was held down by the light itself. Sasuke had his first chance to observe his assailant in the middle of the battle. A hideous humanoid creature with a cunning smile and insane eyes that glowed with an odd symbol was contained within the thick orange light. With its pointed beak, rotten plumage, and arms with long wings growing from their undersides, it appeared more like a summoned beast than a human. A jumpsuit with orange shoulders and the same symbol on the center. A single circle with 4 diagonal lines entering it in a downward pointing arrowhead at the top, was worn by the bird. Like creature. Sasuke noticed out of the corner of his eye that the creature's head was adorned with an orange ring bearing the same symbol. It was a lantern, he said. They cackled. Ooh, he's a smart one, looks tasty too. Get off, said Sasuke more composedly. Chidori Nagashi, his chakra erupted, gushing from every part of his body before spreading throughout the orange lantern. The creature yelled, "Yee!" and released its hold on Sasuke, who immediately flinched back and snatched up his katana. Now that he had the opportunity to examine his adversary more thoroughly, the Uchiha turned on his Sharingan and examined every facet of the lantern. This shuddering, spectral creature looked like a hideous hybrid of a seagull and a human. Its sharpened, serrated beak, webbed feet, and clawed hands set it apart from any other bird Sasuke had ever seen. The lantern's form was phasing in and out of sight, almost as if it didn't exist, as his bloodline limit showed. The orange ring was the only component that appeared to be entirely solid. Sasuke made the decision to test a hypothesis. A lightning bolt in the shape of a sword erupted and pierced the orange lantern as he pointed his hand at it. It phased right through him, just as he had anticipated. Interestingly, the electricity had no effect this time. That tickled. Sneered the bird. Now where's the red? I want it. The creature sprang at Sasuke once more, but he easily avoided the blow this time. What red? It said. You don't have it. The creature pointed its ring at Sasuke this time, and another lightning fast beam of light blasted out in his direction. But I saw it. It's here. That bawling hissy fit of yours should have done the trick. Gimme. Sasuke nearly dodged the laser and just managed to catch its trajectory with his Sharingan. Sasuke responded by slashing at the orange ring itself, ignoring the graze that resulted on his shoulder, which had been cauterized by the attack itself. The ring and his electrified katana erupted in a shower of orange and blue sparks as his sword struck true. Using his momentum, Sasuke sped past the orange lantern and looked back at his opponent, anticipating that it would either drop dead or vanish. He noticed that his own katana had shattered into 2 pieces after hearing a metallic snap. What? The monster clutched its ring and screamed, "You scratched it." The orange lantern instantly spun around and aimed another beam at Sasuke, who once more ducked the blow and impaled it with a Chidori. It was a collector's item, you meatbag. The enemy absorbed the ninja's attack innocuously as Sasuke phased through the seagull and landed behind it. It hungrily asked Sasuke, "But you're an item yourself, aren't you?" When Sasuke blinked, the lantern was on him. Using core powers without being core. You're special. And special's worth a lot. Jellin calls dibs, mine. 20 minutes have passed. Orochimaru questioned from his chair, well, his current hideout's medical ward, which was smaller but still had the basic facilities needed to support him in his operation, was where he and Kabuto were imprisoned. Using his microscope, Kabuto closely inspected the blood sample taken from his master. Clockwise, counterclockwise, and clockwise he turned the main knob. The medic.nin replied, Orochimaru. Sama, it's exactly what I expected. Your body is beginning to decay at an accelerated rate. I fear you have no more than 3 weeks before you are forced to make the body transfer. Orochimaru sneered, Shay, it's sooner than I expected. That is all I can do, Kabuto added, taking a syringe and filling it with a foul neon yellow liquid. I might be able to postpone it by about a week, maybe 2. His master remarked, I have already taught Sasuke everything he needs to know to be prepared, so it will be sufficient. He concluded, one last test, and then he will be ready for the taking, as Kabuto injected the medication and punctured his arm. Orochimaru. Sama, may I inquire if Sasuke-kun's body is prepared, not only to defeat Itachi, but also for the transfer technique? Orochimaru responded, his body has been ready for a long time, Kabuto, as he got up and moved toward the door. Kabuto hastily removed his rubber gloves and followed him into the hallways. So too has his mind. It was simple to shape him into the weapon I require because of his unique and potent hatred for Itachi. He only required training, which I gladly gave him. That's exactly what I'm worried about, Kabuto stated, because I don't completely trust him. He'll probably try to kill you once he realizes you don't have much time left. I know what you think and that Sasuke-kun probably betrayed you. He remains my favorite and best weapon, though. The two arrived at the main chamber of the hideout, a large circular chamber with a hollow pit and rounded by several levels of tiny prison cells. A simple ring capable of granting life to one's imagination, such a weapon was undreamed of even by the greatest cages, the words read. That is, until he brings more information about the Yellow Lantern. Without acquiring this power as well, my goal of mastering all jutsus will never be realized. Such a power almost defies belief, Kabuto stated. The jutsu or technology necessary to create these rings sounds otherworldly. Who knows? Perhaps it is. But it doesn't really matter. The ring is all that matters to me. First up will be Sasuke. I've had enough waiting. Together, we will claim one of these rings once he is mine. I won't stop until I get it. From above, Orochimaru saw a faint trail of chakra, a crude early warning that someone was coming, and he and Kabuto quickly identified Sasuke's chakra. That was rather fast, said Kabuto. Even better, Orochimaru smiled, licking his lips with his big, snake-like tongue. Sasuke-kun, you will finally be mine before this night ends. Sasuke, already in his curse seal level 2 form, fell through the resulting hole, followed closely by a brilliant orange light, and the two landed in the middle of the pit to the shocked sight of Orochimaru, Kabuto, and the terrified inmates inside the cells. The chakra trail intensified, and a sudden chirping of birds accompanied it. The ceiling abruptly blasted apart as blue and white light filled the chamber. He. A deathly combat, the orange thing shouted. That's what it is. Kabuto stumbled. Sasuke Uchiha, you'll become a member of the Orange Lantern Corps. As it directed a dozen orange light beams at Sasuke, Jellin screamed. Orochimaru exclaimed, a lantern, and as Sasuke ducked under Jellin's attack, the older ninja leapt into the arena, and before Kabuto could object, half a dozen pythons sprang out of his sleeves, raced toward the spectral seagull, and tightened around it. Sasuke said, it won't work, as he slid toward the battle. It can make itself tangible or intangible at will. It came from this world after all, billions of years ago, Jellin said, astonished by the snakes encircling it. You look just like his. I'd like to own some orange snakes. Gimme. Its serrated beak effortlessly cut through the bodies of the various reptiles, chopping them all to pieces as the seagull knelt down and bit down on the coiled serpents. The orange lantern then went on to eat each sliced, dead snake in single gulps. The ghost's ring glowed brighter and the orange aura surrounding it grew stronger. What the? Pondered Sasuke. The consumption is finished. Stolen identity. Replicating. Jellin's voice was not the same as the stoic, raspy one that filled the chamber. I hear a ring. Can it think for itself? Kabuto thought aloud, but when the ring ignited, all more conjecture was extinguished. You belong to Agent Orange. And all of you will be mine. Orochimaru fared worse, as most of the snakes rushed him and, despite his agility, bit hard on his ankles and wrists. The same snakes that the orange lantern had eaten now erupted from the ring as fiery, phantasmal constructs and raced towards their former masters. Sasuke ducked and struck one of the snakes with a chidori, again with little effect as his hand phased through the ghostly snake's body. Fascinating, he said, ignoring the slight pain that turned into an excruciating pain when the constructs abruptly pulled and tore the Sannin's limbs from their sockets, causing blood and ichor to gush out from the open wounds as Orochimaru fell hard on the solid ground. Despite this, he maintained his composure, and as the orange snakes vanished and the Sannin's broken limbs landed on the ground next to his discarded skin, the new Orochimaru regurgitated the Kusanagi sword, and swung at Jellin, the blade going straight through the lantern. Go for the ring. The lantern did nothing at first, but when it saw that most of the weapons struck his ring, it turned sideways and summoned a shield to block the remaining weapons. Orochimaru took advantage of the situation and sliced at the orange ring, and again a shower of blue and orange sparks erupted from the contact point. Sasuke shouted out, he said, swiftly removing the bandages from his wrists and using the summoning tattoos on them to shower Jellin with a shower of shuriken and kunai. When Orochimaru noticed that the ring was not even scratched but that the strike had chipped the Kusanagi, he exclaimed, this is impossible. You are also. Leave my precious alone. Jellin sulked. The maned ninja rushed to Jellin after he swiftly made a huge axe and skillfully cut off Orochimaru's right arm, and another Orochimaru appeared from the ground behind the orange lantern. Jutsu no Tsuchi Bunshin. At the grounded Orochimaru's command, the maimed copy dissolved into mud and enveloped Jellin completely. The real Orochimaru then jumped up out of the floor, made several other hand seals, then yelled, Futon, Daitopa. Orochimaru performed one more seal, and the wind blast instantly erupted into a blazing fireball that enveloped the lantern. The snake-like human blew out a massive gust of wind that disintegrated the mud covering Jellin, and for a moment managed to move the orange lantern. The creature stopped in midair and turned, no longer affected by the attack. Goryuka no Jutsu, Kaden. After a few seconds, the orange lantern did not emerge from the attack, but gradually, the high-pitched whine replaced the scorching crackling of the fire. and thin orange beams escaped the fireball until the entire sphere dissipated amid an explosion of pure light. Sasuke then unleashed a massive fireball that took the shape of a dragon's head. The attack combined with Orochimaru's flame to create a blazing inferno with Jellin at its center. More, let me see how unique you two are. Then you will be the strongest members of my corps. Jellin gleefully cackled at its adversaries. The two ninjas leapt around the chamber with the snakes in close pursuit as Jellin brought the snakes to life once more and sent them hurtling toward Sasuke and Orochimaru. The thrashing structure slammed into the prison walls and doors surrounding the arena, freeing the inmates inside. Free! Free! The braver or more reckless ones rushed Sasuke, Orochimaru, and Jellin, many of them grotesquely disfigured due to their active second levels of curse seals. Some shouted, while others screamed and fled in fear of their captors or the orange light. This world appeals to me. So many specials, I'll probably get the buffet. It flicked its wrist, and the snake constructs that were chasing Sasuke and Orochimaru turned and started eating the prisoners whole. Some were gobbled up right away, while others fought vainly against the orange apparitions, but gradually the number of prisoners who were still alive decreased. As they did so, their spectral forms appeared from the Orange Lantern power ring and joined the slaughter. Jellin drooled at the sight. Sector 2814's Dragon Hulk. Agent Orange owns you. One of Sector 2814's Cylons. Agent Orange owns you. In Sector 2814, Quathus. Agent Orange owns you. Of Sector 2814, Edist. Agent Orange owns you. Gallantmon of Sector 2814, Hazard. Agent Orange owns you. Millwood, Dylan, from Sector 2814. Agent Orange owns you. Sector 2814's Omni. Pharaoh. Agent Orange owns you. Sector 2814 Malix. Agent Orange owns you. Sector 2814's Kaziambeta. Agent Orange owns you. Winter in Sector 2814 is Grumpy. Agent Orange owns you. Sector 2814 Spider. Fox. Agent Orange owns you. Mike Sully of Sector 2814. The ring trailed off with more and more names, each one a victim of Jellin's assault. The new recruits viciously attacked the living with the intention of killing them. Some were eaten, others were cut to pieces, and still others were burned in orange death rays. Each person who died strengthened the ranks of the Orange Lantern Corps, and soon the arena was crowded with constructions, and Orochimaru's prisoners were now eternal prisoners of the Orange Light. Kabuto used his medical jutsu to focus his chakra on his palms and neutralize the attacks with just his touch, while Sasuke constructed short busts of Chidori and Chidori Iso spears to avoid the attacks, and Orochimaru cleaved the constructs with his resummoned Kusanagi. Although the ninjas were negating the attacks of the Orange Lanterns, theirs had little effect on the constructs, which persisted in their unrelenting assault, and slowly but surely their chakra supplies started to run out. It was Orochimaru who stumbled first, his withering body's stamina faltering for a moment, and that was all it took for the Orange Lanterns to descend upon him and tear him to pieces. He opened his maw and a restored Orochimaru emerged from the now discarded skin, but as he did, another cadre of lantern constructs grabbed the new Sannin and ruthlessly tore him apart again, causing Orochimaru to shed his skin once more, and so on, until his chakra was rapidly depleted. Orochimaru. Sama. The key lantern hovered menacingly over the center of the arena, controlling its own core with chaotic precision. In order to repel the construct's attacks, Sasuke slowly inched his way as close to Jellin as he could, but the approach proved difficult because Jellin was focusing the majority of its lanterns on him. Kabuto shouted. He tried to get close to his master, but a squadron of orange lanterns kept him far too busy to intervene. The rest of the corps immediately grabbed him after Sasuke's latest Chidori missed its mark and a snake-like construct wrapped itself around his arm due to a slight misstep. Tag. You're it, as well as mine, Jellin screamed, tightening its hold on the snake-like structure that was holding Sasuke in place and attaching the snake's tail to the ring. Sasuke smiled. This was his moment. He summoned the majority of his remaining chakra, activated his Sharingan, and let it all out at once. Chidori Nagashi. Those holding and encircling Sasuke pulsed, distorted, and eventually vanished to nothingness as the electrified chakra passed through the snake constructs and reached Jellin's ring, hurting the invaders at last because the orange lanterns were so real and close. Yee! The orange light and the blue-white light of Sasuke's attack combined to create a brilliant explosion of light that blinded Sasuke, Kabuto, and Orochimaru. Jellin lost its concentration, which caused the rest of the corps attacking Kabuto and Orochimaru to vanish. Sasuke fell hard to the ground and breathed heavily. With his chakra diminished, the cursed seal deactivated and he regained his normal form. He stood up and gazed at where Jellin had been. The orange lantern was gone, and the ring was gone. "You're strong for a meatbag," Sasuke heard behind him. Before he could turn, he saw orange arms and claws grab him and hold him down. Jellin appeared in front of him, grinning hungrily, while the other orange constructs held him tightly. Sasuke attempted to shape more chakra, but Jellin responded, "I want that too, but not like that." Jellin slammed the orange ring against Sasuke's chest before he could release the last of his chakra. Oh my! Sasuke felt the chakra he had just prepared seeping into the orange lantern ring from his body. Power levels 93%. Jellin went on, but in the end, "You're just a meatbag," and his voice had changed from one that had sounded angry to one that now had a sad, feeble, pitiful worm from a rotten chunk of rock. "You humans are more brittle than Lonkian glass, which is odd because this is where the best greens come from." Sasuke struggled in vain under the grip of the core. "You hate me? Excellent. I desire your hatred. I want to make you angry, and I'll get what I really want from that." "What is that, too?" The lantern held his jaw up in response to Sasuke's spat. "Hate the form that was given. Anger manifested. You are the key," Jellin replied, "just like my avarice. And you will both be mine after you have brought it for me." Jellin's back was abruptly pierced by the Kusanagi sword. "Sasuke is mine." Jellin turned to face Orochimaru and casually phased through the sword, saying, "Are you still kicking? I assumed that by now your old husk would have croaked." It returned to its previous craziness and taunted. Orochimaru responded, "Sanins don't die so easily," and he acknowledged that Sasuke-kun is crucial. "The secret to my rise is his body. His eyes are the window to my jutsu mastery. I won't allow you to take him." Orochimaru lunged at Jellin, who immediately went intangible. But as the Sannin phased through, the lantern realized it was not the target. "Join with me, Sasuke-kun. Together, we will defeat this pigeon and then Itachi." "Get out of here, pedo. Sennin. I own him. You, on the other hand, have nothing more to offer me." Jellin quickly wrapped Orochimaru in snake constructs and slammed him against the wall across from him. The seagull left some of his constructs with Sasuke before taking off after the serpentine ninja. "You're going to join my core now." Sasuke watched Jellin and its core descend upon Orochimaru. Given his current condition and what they had witnessed, namely, the power of the orange ring and its light, the outcome of their attack was inevitable. "Damn you," he muttered to himself. Jellin was correct. He was weak and could not even defeat a crazy bird. "Is this Itachi's power now?" he muttered. "Naruto's as well?" He thought he could somehow overcome them, but this was too much. He grit his teeth. "Damn you, Jellin." This lantern was going to kill him without him even having a chance to face Itachi again. "Damn you, Itachi." And as a final insult, either that dumb bird was going to be the one to kill his brother, or worse, Naruto would be the one. "Damn you, Naruto." With a shrill, hateful scream, Sasuke drained his lungs, and the orange lanterns that held him shivered with pleasure. Then, a moment later, the shivering became more intense as a high, pitched, shrill shriek filled the large chamber, and the orange lanterns convulsed violently, letting Sasuke go. The ones attacking Orochimaru exploded in brilliant showers of orange sparks, and those surrounding Sasuke and Kabuto followed shortly after. All three covered their ears as the scream grew louder, but Jellin appeared unaffected, instead staring around wildly, expectantly, and giddily. "It has arrived. At last, come to me, my beauty," he said, releasing Orochimaru and taking off straight up. "Where are you?" To everyone's surprise, a red beam rushed straight through Jellin, crumpling in apparent pain, and the loud shriek died instantly, before the beam fell directly towards Sasuke, who stared at the approaching object as the light itself bent and started to orbit the Uchiha team at random. "This is," and stumbled Sasuke, "that red star." The tip of the beam was enclosed in a red ring that was nearly the same color as Jellin's, and he could see it without his Sharingan. "Sasuke Uchiha of Sector 2814. You have a lot of anger in your heart." Before anyone in the room could respond, the ring smashed directly onto Sasuke's right middle finger as the rough echo faded. "No. That's what I want," Jellin yelled. It recovered its form and charged at Sasuke. "That's MI. BABUM. Guwa." A blazing pulse of pure agony coursed through Sasuke, who screamed as he had never done before as his entire body burned from the inside out. The red ring seared itself onto his flesh and covered him in a brilliant crimson aura. G blurred. Sasuke crouched and watched in horror as he spat out more blood, his vision becoming blurry in a red haze, and the pain growing worse as a sharp, sulfuric stench overcame his composure. BABUM. His tattered robes changed, his skin darkened, His veins throbbed with liquid flame. His new skin. Tight suit was mostly black save for crimson wrists, boots, central torso, and back, and the symbol of the burning ring, an uncentered circle within two vertically bent lines, emblazoned the uniform's sigil. The agony grew, but it no longer caused him pain. He released the last of his tainted blood, and his heart stopped after one last roaring fury. Babum 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 Sasuke strained, looking through the red fog in his vision toward Jellin, Kabuto, and his master Orochimaru, still feeling the same hatred for them, but now he had nothing left. His meticulous preparation, his boundless patience, his self-control, his unwavering focus, all of it was gone, and all that was left was anger. Power and rage. You belong to the Red Lantern Corps. Gimme. As it extended its hand to take Sasuke's, Jellin screamed. Sasuke growled at Jellin and skillfully ducked the Orange Lantern's hand, then reached for the seagull's throat, which, to its surprise, Sasuke managed to successfully grab this time. The boy then swung his own ring in the direction of Jellin's struggling body. Burn. RRGH. The fluidic light engulfed Jellin and started to burn its energy form as a crimson liquid redder than blood erupted from Sasuke's mouth and the ring. Yi. Jellin screamed as the acidic manifestation of rage consumed the light of avarice. In desperation, it shot Sasuke with an orange beam. The light impacted Sasuke dead on his chest, but it only managed to slightly stun him. Sasuke released Jellin out of reflex, and it took the opportunity to quickly fly away from the Red Lantern. No fair. Not fair. I had that. I owned that. Jellin released its entire core and pointed its ring at Sasuke once more. Grr. The power ring's influence instinctively harnessed his chakra system, causing it to pour fire and electricity from his tenketsu. His churning red aura, a mixture of flame, lightning, and hateful light, tore through the orange constructs with utter ease, and those that barely touched Sasuke dissolved into nothingness. Sasuke growled at the approaching army, and the red ring flared, launching him directly onto the Orange Lantern Corps. My core. Murderer. What did you do to my... Sasuke grabbed its ring hand, arced down, and threw himself and Jellin straight down after severing Jellin with a twisted, nearly liquid crimson Chidori to its chest. Caution. Corrupted power. Power level 72%. Still impaling the Orange Lantern, Sasuke opened his mouth again and drenched it with more acidic blood. Jellin's form began to twist and churn horribly. Power levels 43%. Shri. Jellin let out a scream. R-A-R-R-R-R-R-R-R-R-R. Orochimaru and Kabuto covered their faces to protect themselves from the chaos that erupted from the clash as rocks, debris, and various body parts from the dead prisoners flew out from the blast epicenter, some striking the two living ninjas. When the roar finally subsided and the dust settled, Orochimaru saw a slumped Jellin held strong by a victorious Sasuke. The two lanterns crashed hard to the arena floor, blasting an orange and red shockwave throughout the chamber and a large dust cloud that enveloped the two. Fantastic. He said, grinning gleefully and hungrily, and Sasuke stooped before yelling into the air. RRRRROARRRRRGGGGHHHH. Right now. The broken chamber that had once served as Orochimaru's secondary hideout was once again peaceful, with the bodies of his test subjects and prisoners scattered across the moonlit room, victims of the creature's surprise attack, now lying flat on the floor, struggling helplessly under the control of his protege. Orochimaru gazed hungrily at his choice for student and future host, Sasuke, hunched over, his curse seal level .2 wings folded, every muscle tensed to its maximum tension, his own blood dripping from his mouth and burning the unfortunate enemy in his grasp. Sasuke-kun, come. Orochimaru said, let me enjoy this great power. His pupil turned his head and snarled, his teeth bared and clenched tightly, his mouth and eyes gushing blood, but it did not touch the ruby colored ring that had just moments before pressed itself onto his right middle finger or his new, equally crimson suit. Sasuke. Fury. Sasuke released the almost dissolved orange lantern and turned to face his teacher. A few seconds later, Jellin vanished entirely, leaving only the orange ring motionless and dark on the ground. Orochimaru grinned and licked his lips, but Kabuto stepped back cautiously beside him. He cautioned his master, Orochimaru. Sama, something is wrong, maybe we should. The words, E-T-A-A, she, snarled Sasuke. Orochimaru said, your brother will come soon, Sasuke-kun. This, he said, pointing to Sasuke as a whole, is much more than my expectations from you. This is flawless. Sasuke, still tense, stopped hissing but continued to breathe heavily as the serpent ninja approached his student slowly but eagerly and extended his arms in a welcoming gesture. Orochimaru. Sama, don't, Sasuke is, remain quiet. Turning to Kabuto, Orochimaru growled, you won't ruin this moment. He then turned back to his pupil, who was now a powerful red lantern, and said, Sasuke's power, the Uchiha's Sharingan, since I first saw the power of those eyes, I swore I would claim it. I've waited far too long for this. I will become the ultimate being with the help of the Red Ring's power. He closed in on Sasuke, who still stood tense and still. Orochimaru's face twisted into a wicked smile, and his own eyes widened with mad glee. Itachi shall be the first, it's time for me to surpass him. I will then exact my revenge on Konoha. I will destroy that pitiful excuse for a hidden village, even with the assistance of the Kyuubi. Brat's lantern. And that'll only be the start. When he got close enough to Sasuke, he put his hands together and said, Sasuke-kun, it's time. The former Sannin inhaled deeply, relishing the moment he had been anticipating since he first saw Sasuke. Fushite, he said, finally saying, you will be mine. Rage. In an instant, Sasuke's skeletal wings sliced through Orochimaru's midsection, and the ninja's body was sliced cleanly through by the burning aura surrounding his form, causing his torso to heave upwards from the force of the cleaving strike, while his lower half remained upright. The Red Lantern wasted no time in pursuing his former master, just as the lower half of Orochimaru's body slumped to the ground lifelessly, while Sasuke casually aimed his ring at the lower torso and blasted it with red flame, which immediately consumed the body, while he opened his mouth at the upper part of the Sannin. Wah! Orochimaru stammered, shooting pain coursing through his bisected body, interrupting the jutsu in mid-cast. Orochimaru discovered that the same symbol of the Red Lanterns had overlapped the Uchiha's bloodline limit, but that the eyes staring back at him were no longer just the Sharingan the boy and his older brother shared. This was the first time the older ninja realized that the being in front of him was not what he had been coveting for so long. It was Sasuke's vengeful, unyielding hatred given life and freedom. Orochimaru shuddered for the first time since Itachi had beaten him so handily. He was right to be afraid of the Uchiha, he thought as he saw red light fill Sasuke's throat. What he feared was going to kill him. Orochimaru. Perish. Orochimaru felt a powerful pull on his shoulders as the first drops of the approaching wave of fluid hate splashed at him. The remainder of Sasuke's attack barely missed his torso, and the maimed Sannin looked up to see that Kabuto had grabbed him in mid-jump and moved him out of the Red Lantern's attack. The two of them safely landed on the opposite side of the chamber just as Sasuke turned to face them. Orochimaru. Sama, are you okay? Kabuto asked his master at the same time as Orochimaru used the last of his chakra to regurgitate one more healed body. We cannot win against this. We have to go. Orochimaru got to his feet and gazed at Sasuke as the latter rushed in their direction. Kabuto focused and performed a few fast hand seals. Ninpo, Nihon Shoja no Jutsu. White feathers started to fall from the ceiling, and Sasuke stopped in midair, growling at them and then letting loose with a few bursts from his ring. The feathers themselves did not burn, but the blasts ignited into flame when they struck the floor and the room's walls. That won't stop him, Orochimaru was told. That aura will likely prevent the jutsu from knocking him unconscious. Sasuke. Orochimaru gasped, this isn't over. Kabuto executed another set of seals while the Red Lantern Uchiha continued to attack his distraction. The feathers soon stopped, but as Sasuke turned back to Orochimaru and Kabuto, he noticed the two ninjas' form gradually fading away in painless, orange fire. Sasuke dove after the escaping pair, but before he could reach them, the body flame jutsu was finished, and they were both gone. Sasuke landed hard on the spot where his victims had been just moments before, and his red aura ignited the resulting crater as he breathed heavily, more blood dripping from his mouth and eyes to the ground and igniting on contact. With his current targets gone, Sasuke's single-minded thoughts turned back to the source of his rage. RRRRRRRRRGH. His aura pulsed and grew, and his breath became more labored as he took a deep breath, tensed every part of his body to its tightest, and then released a torrent of acidic light from his eyes, mouth, and ring. Blood flew everywhere, soaking the entire lair, and seconds later the manifested hatred ignited into scalding crimson flames. Sasuke squatted, then launched himself straight up, almost oblivious to the flames. Itachi! With another roar, Sasuke took off into the night sky, leaving a trail of blood and light that was blazing crimson in his wake. A moment later, he was gone. As the red flames spread throughout the rest of the hideout, the last upper half of Orochimaru's many discarded skins, which were the only remnant of the former Sannin's presence, would soon be consumed by the raging hate, and soon there would be no sign of Orochimaru's presence there or of any of the terrible experiments he had conducted. However, Orange Greed's heart could not be totally destroyed by red hate. The orange ring sparked once, then again, and its light gradually increased, creating an orange glow against the surrounding crimson. The ring hovered over the flames, and the alien seagull slowly reformed, but it was withered and constantly evaporating, its smoking husk swaggering towards Orochimaru's skin. Consumption required immediately. Mine, it stammered, and the energy of the ring wavered, causing it to crash on top of its target. Weakly, it opened its beak and nicked off a scrap of discarded finger, and a sliver of power returned to the ring. Jellin took another, more powerful bite, this time consuming an entire hand. More energy reached the ring, and now the orange lantern ruthlessly ate the remainder of its meager meal. The consumption is finished. Identity stolen. The alien stood up and smiled, its energy somewhat restored. He. Mine. Reproducing. From Sector 2814, Orochimaru. Its reformed body now trembled violently and trembled, and a pulse shook the entire orange lantern. You belong. Jellin's shape distorted once more, its legs dissolving to nothingness and its torso collapsing to the ground. You bell. The voice of the ring filled with static, and the alien construct let out a screech that no ordinary seagull could imitate. FRLZZHWSRRRSH. Jellin raised its winged arm high and then vanished, leaving only the tangible solid ring floating silently in midair. I am not anyone's property. An orange shockwave erupted from the ring, and although the immense pressure extinguished the blazing crimson fury, it was unable to complete the destruction of what was left of the hideout. The walls cracked and split open, spilling dirt and soil into the cavern, and the broken prison levels collapsed into piles of rubble. On the center of the shockwave, the glowing ring reformed its construct orange lantern, but instead of Jellin, a ghostly figure of Orochimaru, dressed in a one-piece orange and apricot tinted black suit, grinned wickedly at the sky above. Yes. The copy hissed, cupped its hands together over his chest, and seared the orange lantern ring's symbol into its new uniform. As it rose from the remnants of the lair, its startling voice reverberated throughout the valley below. Kun Sasuke. You are only the first step. The entire miserable world, Konoha, Akatsuki, Suna, Kabuto, my original, the tailed beasts, the other rings, etc. I will have everything that exists. Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer, Space Sector 2814. I used to be, anyway. We hurried Neji to the hospital after Itachi got away. As soon as we arrived, Shizune, Ni-chan and Sakura Chan took care of him. After a brief examination, Choji and Tenten were released, but Choji was upset that it would take some time for his hair to grow back. While Ino was bandaging Shikamaru's ribs, thick brows accompanied his father to get away from Itachi's genjutsu. I was examined by a doctor, but I was well by the time we arrived. There are times when it is advantageous to have the foolish fox. However, that concludes the positive news. I defeated Itachi by using up all of the ring's power, and I'm not sure where to look for this power battery. And I don't even know if this Salak is aware of my existence, let alone what this Oa is. I turned out to be a corpsman. Ring, power check. Naruto received no response from the ring. In one of Konoha's parks, he sat alone on a long bench and gazed silently at the Green Lantern ring. Naruto thought that its emerald polish appeared duller, possibly due to the loss of power. 3 days had passed since the Forest of Death battle, and he still hadn't figured out how to recharge the ring. His initial attempt to attach the ring head to a wall socket in his apartment only resulted in a powerful electric shock that left him unconscious for half a day. He placed the ring on a windowsill the following morning to see if sunlight would help, but that didn't work either. He was blanking out today. This isn't like you, Naruto, he heard someone say from behind him. Naruto turned, and when he saw who it was, his spirits lifted. Arrow. Sennin. With a salute, the elder Sannin said, Yo, Jiraiya had trained the boy alone for 2.5 years, so she knew better than to ask Naruto not to refer to him as a perverted sage. Naruto questioned, What are you doing here? With a? I thought you could use some company, Jiraiya responded. Looking down, Naruto saw that the Sannin was offering him one of the 2 popsicles he had brought. Grinning, he accepted it and moved to Jiraiya's side of the bench. Both of them nibbled on their snacks. The cool ice treat was a pleasant diversion from the hot midday sun for a few minutes. They both savored the treat in silence until Jiraiya interrupted. He remarked, Tsunade told me what happened, with his mouth agape. Naruto questioned, She did? How much? He added, swallowing another bite next. The elder ninja responded, All of it, hero, and nodded toward the ring. Not anymore, sniggered Naruto. He raised the ring to his chest and fixed his attention on it. The ring had a charge I didn't know about until it was too late. It ran out after fighting Itachi. Jiraiya cut in. What are you talking about? You held off Uchiha Itachi by yourself, Naruto, and he had a ring just like yours. That is beyond what even most Junin could ever accomplish. Naruto remarked, but I've got nothing to show for it. I'm still a genin, Itachi's still out there with some ring power left, and I'm no longer a Green Lantern. Knowing him, he'll figure out a way to repower his ring soon, and if that happens, who's gonna stop him? You worry too much, Naruto, Jiraiya addressed him. If Itachi can figure out a way, so can you. Can I? I've already tried. Electricity won't power it, sunlight won't charge it, the only thing that can. Jiraiya completed the sentence for him. As a power battery, Tsunade mentioned you told her in your mission report. Naruto sighed and gave a feeble smile. Bachan really told you everything, didn't she? Jiraiya flashed Naruto one of his famously broad smiles. My irresistible charm easily sways even the Hokage's strong temperament. Yeah, right. That's the same charm that didn't get you any girls during the last 2 years. Jiraiya retorted, don't make fun of my techniques, brat, as Naruto laughed. As his oldest teacher calmed down, he bit the frozen treat. So, yes, only a power battery can recharge the ring. I guess that's the only thing that generates the kind of green light energy the ring uses, Naruto replied. Jiraiya remarked, I was curious about that light myself. From what I heard, Itachi mentioned his own ring was fueled by fear, right? Yeah, so? So it follows that yours should be powered by another emotion, willpower, if I remember right. Naruto retorted, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, I can understand that my own fear would make me lose focus and thus control of the ring, but that emotion can be collected? At first it does sound ridiculous, Jiraiya said, but so does Chakra Tanan. Ninjas. These core may have somehow mastered the technique for collecting and harnessing emotions into controllable light. Naruto gave a shrug. He was in the middle of saying, maybe. I mean, a few days ago just the thought of a ring that worked on Imagina, when he remembered something Jiraiya had said. What's wrong? Inquired the elder ninja. Naruto got up and paced back and forth in front of Jiraiya. Chakra. Neji said the ring's energy looked like chakra when he used his Byakugan. For his part, the Sannin continued to stare directly at his pupil. Naruto was so preoccupied with his thoughts that he failed to notice Jiraiya's broad smile. Naruto halted in front of Jiraiya and gave him a hopeful glance. Let's say I'm crazy and I believe Itachi. His ring is powered by fear, and mine by will. If Neji's right, the power ring's collected will is like chakra. So if I try to channel chakra while feeling will. Jiraiya simply nodded in response. Okay. Naruto stated resolutely, pumping his fist into the air. It's the third time, he said, releasing his grip and lowering it. He inhaled deeply, sealed his hands quickly, and started shaping chakra. Don't rush it, Jiraiya cautioned. Naruto slowed his breathing a bit and initially concentrated only on creating chakra. Be calm, but resolute. He steeled himself as soon as he sensed the familiar surge of power. His thoughts drifted back to the first time he had turned on the ring, as he drove to prevent too much chakra leakage. A task far more challenging than he had anticipated given his impulsive nature. His breathing became a little faster. However, the act of control helped him concentrate even more, and he only permitted one thought to enter his mind's eye. Hovering resolutely and protectively over all of Konoha, he pictured himself as a Green Lantern again. Naruto cupped his left hand over his closed right fist in a slow, methodical motion while crouching a little. He allowed his shaped chakra to flow from his body into the power ring as though creating a Rasengan. Blue chakra began to appear in faint wisps, some flowing away and some touching the ring. The only thing he saw when he opened his eyes was the Green Lantern ring. A tiny, unbroken stream of chakra grew from the tufts and cascaded gently down to his right hand. He concentrated all of his attention on the central portion that fell at the ring rather than the chakra that spilled out and vanished. Power levels 2%. The voice of the ring nearly made him lose his resolve. He threw away the momentary diversion and allowed the ring to absorb more of his chakra. He knew his attempt was working. He saw the Green Lantern symbol appear over his pupils as his will rose and the emerald glow of the ring returned. The stream became tighter now, and the chakra changed from its usual azure to a vivid jade as it continued to flow. His garments flashed and changed all of a sudden, and he spoke words that came from the bottom of his heart as the power of the ring enveloped him again. On the happiest day, on the darkest night, nothing bad will get past me. Let those who worship the power of evil watch out for my power. The light of the Green Lantern. His remaining chakra leaked into the power ring that had been restored. He collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Even though he was panting heavily and had perspiration running down his forehead, he and Jiraiya both had a smile on their faces. "You did well," he said with a smile. Naruto was helped back up to sit on the bench by the Sannin, who got to his feet. Naruto looked around and noticed his green uniform, which had been restored. To his liking, it now had a slightly different look that made it more like his everyday attire. The top portion of the suit now matched the design on his jacket, but it was inherently green rather than orange. With the exception of a green strap that resembled a bandage around his right leg, his pants were still entirely black. The Green Lantern symbol on his chest was still there, as were the white boots and gloves. It was simple for him to ask the ring, power check. Power levels 52%. Naruto narrowed his eyes in shock. All of my chakra only got it half full? Think of it this way, then, Jiraiya advised. Once fully charged, that's a lot of power to hold in such a simple piece of jewelry. In response, Naruto said, "You have no idea, too bad I'm out of normal chakra. Maybe if I drain some from the dumb fox." "Absolutely not," Jiraiya said abruptly. He allowed the Sannin to continue, even though Naruto could easily figure out why. "You know how tainted the Kyuubi's chakra is. You haven't forgotten the last mission, did you?" Naruto responded, "Of course not," with pain at the memory of the wound he had inflicted on Sakura. "I just thought that if I didn't actually use the chakra and just fed it to the ring. We have no way of knowing how it would react to such an evil chakra. Now that we know that the rings are powered by emotion, nothing good can come out of driving such hate into concentrated will." "I guess you're right," Naruto said with a shrug. Jiraiya stated, "Don't worry about it," while putting a hand on the blonde teenager's shoulder. "Just rest for a while, recover your chakra, and then you should be able to bring it up to full power." "That's the idea," concurs Naruto, "but there's no hurry. Even at half full the ring still works the same." "Show me." "Huh? Why not give me a little demonstration of the ring's power?" "Sure." Naruto enthusiastically agreed. "What do you want me to do?" "Surprise me," smiled Jiraiya. After giving his teacher a quick glance, Naruto returned the evil smile. He got to his feet, focused on the form he knew the recluse would prefer, and lifted the ring. A sultry, long-haired, nude girl appeared, leapt onto the Sannin, and gave him a gentle face rub. She kissed him quickly on the cheek a moment later. In shock, Jiraiya almost threw back the bench, but a second, equally nude female figure grabbed him by the bouncy chest. Jiraiya cried out joyfully, "Guwa!" as a stream of blood spurted from his nostrils. The formidable ninja was reduced to a twitching mess after 2 seconds. Naruto made fun of his teacher, saying, "Bawahahaha. That's so weak, Arrow. Sennin. No wonder you can't get any girls." Jiraiya's senses returned as soon as he busted the constructs. "You brat. Why'd you do that? Oh, come on, don't you want research for your next book?" laughed Naruto. He took a step back when he noticed Jiraiya quiet down and hum as though he was thinking. "Wait a sec, I was." In his eerie voice, he said, "Research is good. Why don't you bring them back again so I can do a thorough examination?" Then he got up and went to Naruto. Naruto retorted, "I was joking, damn it," and conjured up a huge stop sign in front of his teacher. The restored Green Lantern leapt high and hovered over the Sannin as Jiraiya ducked beneath the construct and closed in. The elder ninja stopped his antics and showed admiration for his pupil. He remarked, "Now that is really impressive." Naruto gave a nod. "So what are you going to do now?" He patted his stomach in response, saying, "Eat, after spending all that chakra, I'm starving." As Jiraiya yelled at him from below, he rose higher into the sky. "Don't overuse the ring too much, Naruto. Use it wisely." "I will. Thanks, Arrow. Sennin," Naruto said as he waved Jiraiya off before racing into the midday sun. "Naruto, you're already a great ninja. I know you'll be a great lantern too." Jiraiya waved back, then said in a whisper, "Tales of the Green Lantern, that might make for an interesting book," as he left. Sai kept his head down and knelt. He was in a huge subterranean room that was connected by 4 enormous round pillars and intersected by numerous walkways. An elderly man with a basic wooden cane approached him in front of him while wearing a long kimono. His right arm was out of sight because his left torso and lower body were entirely covered by a black coat. The scars from numerous battles were visible on his face. He kept his left eye closed and bandaged his right eye. However, Sai was aware that if he so desired, this man could easily close his eye and strike a kunai directly on his heart. Sai said to the man, reporting as ordered, "Danzo. Sama," with dignity. The younger ninja did not receive a greeting in return from the head of the covert Anbu Root Division. He went right to the point instead, saying, "I understand you were in the mission to the Hidden Steel, where this green lantern was first sighted." "That is correct, sir," was Sai's first response. Danzo went on, "Then I have only one question for you. Is it true what my spy in the Hokage's office says? Is Uzumaki Naruto the recipient of the green ring?" Sai opened his mouth to respond, but no sound came from his throat. Suddenly, he felt his chest tighten, but he had no idea why. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with him or why he couldn't respond to a straightforward question from his superior. Danzo added sharply, "You will speak," which was simultaneously a command and a threat. Sai found his voice this time. "Yes," was all he said. His chest still felt constricted. Disgusting. That such a magnificent power be given to a reckless, irresponsible child that fantasizes on becoming Hokage. Tsunade. Haim should have confiscated the ring as soon as she knew it was given to him, a Jinchuriki, no less. Sai didn't respond to Danzu's outburst. He knew enough about his master, for the most part, to know that occasionally he expressed his opinions out loud to his subordinates without anticipating or desiring a response. But something inside Sai stirred. He discovered that he had unintentionally clenched his fists when he heard the root leader disparaging Naruto. Silently, he asked himself, what was this? Danzo then inquired, how did he acquire it? Sai knew he had to respond this time. He responded, as strange as it may sound, the ring chose him. The weapon itself seems to have some limited sentience, and as I understand, it chose Uzumaki Naruto because, in its own words, he has the ability to overcome great fear. Danzo retorted, so does any Konoha shinobi. Once more, Sai realized that answering this question was not his place. I must evaluate this situation further. In the meantime, your orders are the following. Observe everything you can about Uzumaki Naruto. Determine the strengths and weaknesses of the ring, how he uses it, and if it could potentially be taken from him. Sai experienced the same constriction in his heart once more, but he was unable to respond due to his clenched throat. In order to prevent Danzo from berating him once more, Sai made himself respond, yes, sir. Dismissed. Sai obeyed the leader right away. The hold on his heart eventually relaxed as he leapt from walkway to walkway, up and out of the secret lair, but an odd feeling persisted. It was a persistent discomfort that persisted even after he left the village, though it was not quite pain. I feel? He asked himself. He didn't remember feeling any physical pain or injuries a few weeks ago. He wasn't totally shocked that he was still able to experience such emotions because some of the books he was reading hinted at this possibility. He was initially unsure of the reason, so he considered the events of the previous meeting. The agony began when he told Danzo about Naruto's new abilities, which he had to confess made it difficult for him to speak. He tried to think of any specific emotion that would give him this kind of physical pain, and he reflected on all the books he had begun reading that described friendship. As he came up with a single emotion that matched his current feelings, he paused in the middle of a busy street, looked down, and rubbed his chest. Is this regret? After completing her weekly nursing practice, Sakura left the hospital. She felt it helped her maintain her medical ninjutsu skills between missions, even though Tsunade didn't need that of her. Since it was almost time for lunch, she went to her favorite dumpling place. She heard and saw the villagers going about their daily lives with a hint of excitement as she arrived at the main street. One of the two kids said, "Did you hear? He's back." Sakura heard. She didn't really listen until the young boy's friend responded. She turned to face the two and exclaimed, "Yeah, I saw him flying around," but they had already left. Flying? She inquired. "I don't know about that," an elderly store owner informed his client. "Sounds like too much of a good thing." The woman in her middle years insisted, "I'm telling you, that green boy built a whole oven and cooking tools so I could finish that wedding catering on time." Green boy? Did Naruto? One young girl exclaimed to her mother, "There he is. There's Hiro-san." The woman and the other villagers who were passing by looked in the direction she was pointing, and when they saw the green trail that a very human-like figure had left behind, they all began to applaud and cheer. Sakura told herself, he did figure out how to repower the ring. After flying over the street she was in, the green lantern rounded a corner and plunged over a side street. Sakura chose to personally congratulate him on regaining his abilities as the villagers applauded him. He led her from the ground, and she waded through the crowds until she ducked into another alley with no other people. "Naruto? Are you there?" He didn't respond if he was present. Sakura called out to him once more as she moved farther down the alley. "Naruto, I know you're here." She heard someone say, "Can't get anything past you, Sakura." Chan, from behind her. Sakura threw a comparatively weak backhand after being startled and automatically spinning around. Her fist hit a construct he had created, but it missed Naruto, who instinctively leapt to the air. Naruto hovered fearfully a few feet above the ground. Sakura said, "Sorry. Ninja habit," without apology. She looked down at the construction she had hit, and her stomach ached when she saw what it was and how it lay on the dirty floor. Were those flowers? Naruto said softly as he finished for her. The paper wrapped tulips and roses were still visible, but the green creation was slowly melting. Sakura looked at Naruto, who was looking gloomy as he drifted back down beside her, and then she turned back to the flowers, which reflected his attitude and started to wither and lose petals in the slightest wind. Her statement, "I'm so sorry, Naruto. Do you think you can?" was not required to be completed. The flower's petals reattached themselves, Naruto's mood instantly improved, and the entire bouquet raised itself to Sakura's eager hands. Naruto apologized and said, "I don't think the ring can create sense." Sakura raised them to her head and inhaled deeply, saying, "It's fine. They're beautiful." The Green Lantern scratched the back of his head and gave him a sheepish smile. "What's the occasion?" Naruto began, "Oh, I just," and then stopped. When Sakura noticed the contrast between his green aura and his reddening cheeks, she smiled a little. "I was heading to lunch, and, I just thought, well, if you hadn't eaten yet." "You're asking me out to lunch?" Sakura concluded for him in a questioning tone. "I guess?" she inquired, "as in a date?" Naruto swallowed. Sakura smiled. She pointed at him and said, "You're paying," getting to her feet. "Wait, so that's why?" Sakura turned and jogged back to the street entrance, saying, "Come on, I'm hungry too." Naruto swiftly changed back into his normal attire after waking up from his daze and ran after his teammate. The two engaged in normal small talk and conversation as they strolled down the Merchant's Row. After a short silence, Naruto finally asked, "So where do you want to eat?" "You invited," Sakura informed him, "so you get to pick." She realized her error as soon as she finished speaking because Naruto smiled and gestured to the Ichiraku who was standing nearby. Tucci ran ahead, and Naruto yelled, "Hey, old man, 2 spots," to him. Sakura followed him, shrugged, and took a seat beside him. The greeting from Tucci's daughter, Ayame, was, "Oh, Naruto-kun, it's been a while," and Sakura-san, too. Naruto said, "Yo, Ayame. Nichan," to her. Sakura nodded amiably at her. When the waitress said, "I'm glad I got to see you before I left," Naruto said, "You're leaving?" "Only for a short time," was Tucci's response. "My little girl's finally ready to learn making her own recipes." "Yeah, and I want to start by working with ingredients from the Wind Country. Who knows, I might open a franchise." "Well, if you reach the Sand Village, I'm sure that even the Cage will become a regular," Sakura replied. Naruto said, "So let's celebrate." With his arm around Sakura's shoulder, he exclaimed, "To Ayame. Nichan's journey, and to our date." He was swiftly pushed away by the kunoichi. She shouted, "Don't push your luck," Tucci went on, "and to the success of our new superhero." Both Sakura and Naruto stiffened at this. Naruto stammered nervously, I don't know what you mean," his words. "Please, Naruto, it's obvious you're this Green Lantern," Ayame sighed. She concluded, "We know what you look like, but more importantly, we know you," Naruto said. "Aside from you openly showing your ring," she said hastily. Tucci went on, "Of course we'd recognize our favorite customer, so tell you what, today lunch is on the house." "Really? Awesome!" exclaimed Naruto. "We'll make a new dish I was thinking of," Ayame replied, "inspired by your name and costume." Sakura smiled, "We look forward to it." While Sakura and Naruto sat back and awaited their meal, Tucci and Ayame got to work cooking right away. Sakura asked Naruto, "So how did you restore it?" "Arrow. Sennin gave me the idea. I just used my chakra to simulate the ring's normal power source." "Aren't you tired from using up your chakra?" Naruto remarked, "A little, but you know me. Gimme some time and some food and I'm ready for anything." Sakura didn't immediately say anything more. Sincerely pleased to see her teammate so joyful, she grinned at him. She reasoned that he needed a jolt after the last mission. "So you're back for good?" Naruto now had the opportunity to remain silent for a short while. He responded, "More or less, after that. I was only able to get it up to about half full. I did use it a bit today, so, ring, power check. Power levels 49%. At least you know to keep an eye on its energy levels now." "It's going to be a pain," claimed Naruto. "Each charge lasts for about a day, so I'm gonna have to use up a lot of chakra to power it." "If you don't want it, you could always give it to me," Sakura chuckled. "I wouldn't mind using up chakra if it meant I could have a ring like yours." Naruto said, I don't know, in a sly tone. They both looked at one another for a few seconds before Sakura started laughing, saying, maybe if you said please really nicely. Her words, not bad for a first pick. Up line attempt, gave him the impression. You might want to work on them a bit more. Hey, it was worth a shot. He shrugged amiably in response. He winked and continued, and don't worry, I'll still take you flying every now and then for free. She stated, now that I can agree to, at the prospect of swimming through the clouds once more, she felt a wave of excitement. As she waited for Naruto to say something amusing once more, she noticed that his tone abruptly became solemn. There's something I have to do before any of that, he stated solemnly. Sakura continued to gaze expectantly at him. Sakura-chan, I'll finally be able to keep my promise. Naruto, she muttered. After that, Naruto turned to face Sakura directly. Lifting his ring to eye level, he declared, I'm going to bring him back. She noticed that the Green Lantern symbol had appeared and his pupils had once more turned jade. No matter how long it takes me, or how many times I have to give my chakra to the ring, I'm going to bring Sasuke back. Naruto, you don't have to. Yes, I do, he cut her off. I promised you I would. If he's still fixed on Itachi, then we can get him together, he said. He's also my enemy now. Not just because he's Akatsuki, but now because as a Green Lantern, it is my responsibility to take out anyone from the Sinestro Corps. He looked at the ring once more before turning back to Sakura. We can do it. As three, together. Itachi won't stand a chance. Then Team 7 will be whole again. At first, Sakura remained silent. She merely gazed at Naruto, wondering how the youthful, feisty miscreant she had known years before was developing into the formidable ninja she now saw. She gave the ring a quick look. Had it changed her friend in this way? No, she forced herself to think. She extended her hand over Naruto's right hand and said, it wasn't the ring. This is the real him. She swore she felt a tiny tingle on her palm when her skin touched the emerald metal, and she purposefully covered the ring. Alternatively, Naruto flushed. Her words, the ring couldn't have made a better choice, caused his cheeks to flush even more. We'll get him back. I don't know how I'll be able to help you, but I'll be there with you. No matter what. That's my promise. Sakura-chan, he managed to stammer out. Her touch caused his pulse to quicken. He felt his stomach tighten as his gaze met hers. Despite Sakura's possible anger, his instinct told him to lean in and give her a kiss right away. He walked tentatively, ever so slowly, toward her. Yo, Naruto, said a voice that was familiar. Abruptly, Naruto felt a powerful arm encircle his shoulder. He turned to see who had ruined his fantastic opportunity with Sakura after the unexpected startle snapped him out of his reverie. Kiba. The not.so. Happy Naruto was greeted by the hunched over Inuzuka Chunin's painted face and broad smile. You bastard. Kiba removed his hand from Naruto and straightened up, asking, damn, is that any way to greet a comrade? The latter got up right away and took Kiba by the collar. Naruto snapped back, greet my ass, you just killed the mood. Sakura chuckled uneasily. Another voice shouted from outside the store, I am forced to agree with Naruto, Kiba. The speaker pushed aside the short curtains and gave Naruto and Sakura a curt nod, saying, your timing was entirely inappropriate in this situation. Sakura said, hello, Shino, to him. And you too, Akamaru. Kiba's loyal companion approached from behind and barking at Sakura. A little less irate but still clutching his shirt, Naruto questioned Kiba, what the hell are you doing here, anyway? He responded, geez, don't pop a vein, Naruto, as he shook free of Naruto. We were just walking around and saw you, and figured we should say hi to the newest town celebrity. Huh? Inquired Naruto. Even though he already knew what they meant, he obeyed the Hokage's orders, and who would that be? You, of course, was Shino's prompt response. Why? Because it is obvious you are this Green Lantern everyone is discussing. Damn it, why is it called a secret identity if it's not a secret at all? He said. Kiba reassured him, don't worry about it. Kiba turned to ask his other teammate, but he stopped when he noticed she was not present. It might be pretty obvious to your friends, but from what I hear the villagers don't suspect a thing. Right, Hina, he said. Hinata? Naruto inquired. Hinata was here too. He didn't witness her entering or going with Akamaru, Shino, and Kiba. She was, but she disappeared again, shrugged Kiba. Sakura and Shino looked at each other knowingly, asking, what's wrong with that girl? Maybe we ought to go with her too, Shino suggested. Akamaru agreed with a woof. You can give us the demo as soon as we're back with her, Naruto. With his teeth clenched, Naruto growled at Kiba, oh, I'll give you a demo, alright. With a menacing gesture, he lifted his ringed fist and allowed it to glow brightly. He waved Naruto away, saying, "Ease up, will you? You were doing a good job before, so it shouldn't take you much to get your groove on Aga." "What was that?" snarled Sakura. As Shino and Akamaru perspired, Kiba wasted no time in draining Ichiraku. Across the street from the ramen stand, in an empty alley, Hyuga Hinata was crouched against a wooden fence. "Naruto-kun," she uttered, struggling to contain her tears. The pain in her heart was lessened by the tight embrace she gave herself. She had seen and heard about the Green Lantern flying around the village, just like Kiba and Shino. When, out of curiosity, her Byakugan enabled her to figure out who the new hero was, she nearly passed out. It was she who joyfully informed Kiba and Shino of the fact, and they suggested that the next time they saw him, they should congratulate him on his new gift. After much introspection, she resolved to do her best to speak with him about it and wish him well. She followed her teammates to Ichiraku and took a deep breath when she saw him eating there a short while ago. Then she realized he wasn't by himself. Haruno Sakura joined him, and she was able to see the seriousness and intimacy of their conversation without the use of her unique talent. When Sakura's hands closed around Naruto's, she clenched her fist, and a sharp pain pierced her heart as she watched him slowly lean in toward the pink-haired ninja. She ran away from her allies to her current hiding place because she could not stand the sight. A familiar voice said, "There you are, Hinata," to her right. "Kiba-kun, are you alright?" inquired Shino. Yes, of course," she said in deception. Shino's thick hood and sunglasses may have fooled Kiba, but she knew he didn't. "Why didn't you join us? You were the one who wanted to congratulate Naruto for his Green Lantern ring," Kiba responded. "I just thought he was busy, so maybe we could have met him later." Shino reprimanded Kiba, saying, "I told you it was the wrong moment to greet them." Kiba gave in and said, Fine, I made a mistake, okay." He and Shino carried on their conversation, but Hinata briefly allowed her thoughts to wander. Though Hinata had noticed something else, Naruto did appear busy. He appeared resolute and then joyful. Alongside Sakura, with her back to Kiba, Shino, and Akamaru, Hinata started to slowly make her way into the alley. There was a part of her that was glad Naruto had found happiness. Even so, the increasing emptiness in her heart continued to cause her excruciating pain, which ultimately overcame her will. One tear trickled down her squinty face. She uttered, "Naruto-kun," more like a sob than a whisper. Ayame and Tucci both exclaimed, "Enjoy your meal." At the same time, they brought 2 bowls of hot, freshly made ramen to Naruto and Sakura. Sakura smiled, "It looks delicious." The tender noodles were adorned with a few pieces of cucumber, lettuce, and seaweed, while the light brown broth was dotted with green herbs and spices. "I'm still thinking of a name for it. How does Lantern's Delight sound?" "As long as it tastes as good as it smells, you can call it whatever you like," said Naruto. Sakura accepted one of the 2 sets of chopsticks he offered her with a cordial nod. After separating the joined wood pieces, they both clasped their hands together. "Itadakimasu," they exclaimed, opened their mouths in ravenous anticipation, and dipped their utensils into the broth before grabbing a mouthful of vegetables and noodles. Warning. Emotional detonation detected. What's the matter, Rin?" Naruto was about to finish when the 4 were blinded by a silent but brilliant flash of violet light. Out of instinct, Naruto lifted his ring and created a bubble that shielded Ichiraku ramen. When the flash went out, Tucci questioned, "What was that?" Naruto decided, "I don't know, but I'm gonna find out right now." His clothing changed into his altered Green Lantern uniform as he got to his feet and charged his ring. Unable to control her excitement, Ayame exclaimed, "That's so cool." Sakura said, "I'm going with you, Naruto," and she got up as well. Naruto grinned at the restaurant owner and said, "Keep the soups warm, Tucci-san. I plan to eat that once I'm done." The elderly man gave a thumbs up in response. "Be careful, Naruto, Sakura." Sakura affirmed, "Will do, Ayame." Naruto flew very close to the ground while she hurried on foot to the light's source. "Ring. Locate the source of detonation," Naruto commanded. In response, it directed a weak laser into an alley close by. Sakura exclaimed, "That's where Kiba and Shino went." The 2 ninjas hurried into the remote street without saying anything. The 2 froze in their tracks as they climbed in, stunned by what they saw. Encased in tall pillars of violet crystal, Kiba and Shino lay paralyzed and trapped directly in front of them. Akamaru was lying next to them, complaining of pain, his right front foot also imprisoned in crystal. Sakura exclaimed, "What did this to them?" As she examined the crystal, she knelt down and took Akamaru's foot. Naruto touched the crystal that encased Shino and asked, "Is this some kind of jutsu? I'm going to break them out." Sakura yelled, "Wait, Naruto, don't," at him. After giving her a questioning look, Naruto picked up one of the numerous tiny crystal shards scattered throughout the space. Naruto saw that one of Shino's chakra eating insects was also trapped inside when Sakura showed it to him. He gave it a hard tap, shattering the crystal and the bug inside. Sakura's words, "We can't break them out like this, we could kill them." Naruto shot back, "They can't be trapped inside forever." Ring, suggestions? Extreme caution advised when attempting to dispel Star Sapphire constructs. Sakura said, "Star Sapphire?" Naruto went on, "Construct? Like another type of lantern?" Affirmative. Elaborate. Partial response possible. Star Sapphire. Zamaron response to Green Lantern Corps. Intentions and affiliation unknown. Further information currently within corrupted files. Approach with caution. "Damn it," swore Naruto. Naruto was about to say, first Itachi and now this Star Sapphire. What does he want with Kiba, Shino and, when he noticed that only 2 of Kurenai's 3 squad members were there. Whispering, "Hinata." Sakura asked in a low voice, "You think this Star Sapphire took Hinata?" Her concern was evident. When the name of the Hyuga was mentioned, Akamaru whimpered once more. The green ring glowed so brightly that it obscured the violet glow of the crystals as Naruto gritted his teeth. "If he did, I'll make him regret it," Naruto growled. Ring, locate Hyuga Hinata. Subject Hyuga Hinata located 15 kilometers west, southwest, distance increasing. Without wasting any more time, Naruto rose slowly above the ground and hovered over Sakura, saying, "The bastard does have her." She said, "Take me with you," to him. "Not this time, Sakura-chan." "But I promised we'd." Naruto pointed to Kiba, Shino, and Akamaru and said, "You can help me by taking care of them." Sakura was about to object, but Naruto's decision made her reconsider. She nodded. "I'll get them to the hospital," she said. "I'll see if Tsunade-sama and I can help them." Announcing, "And I'm going after this Star Sapphire," Naruto said. Without another word, he shot upward until he was above the village's tallest building. "I'll bring them both back, I'll make him free Kiba and Shino, and then I'll beat him to a pulp for kidnapping Hinata," he exclaimed. Sakura shouted to Naruto, "Naruto, be careful." "I will, Sakura-chan." He was gone in a flash of green light as soon as he finished speaking. Distance. 8 kilometers southwest. Subject distance no longer increasing. Naruto came to the conclusion, so he stopped, since leaving Konoha, he had flown continuously, precisely tracking Hinata and her captor the entire time. "I'm almost there. Hold on, Hinata," he exclaimed. Given the difficulty his ring had focusing on Itachi, he was a little taken aback that he could easily detect another lantern. Fortunately, none of the patches of crystal deposits he discovered along the way were home to any humans or animals. He would believe that this Star Sapphire was not as vicious as Itachi if it weren't for Kiba and Shino's predicament. He needed to reach this new lantern as soon as possible. Distance. 6 kilometers west. Target appears to be stationary. Naruto had been lagging behind the Star Sapphire ever since he left. He seemed to have finally stopped, though both of them were now far more than the 15 kilometers the ring had originally suggested. "Better make sure I'm ready." Ring, power check. "Power levels 47%, said the ring. He told himself, "Let's hope it's enough." He had not been able to restore his chakra sufficiently to attempt charging the ring once more without food. The trees below merged into a single streaking mass of green as he forced himself to move even faster. Warning. Emotional detonation imminent. Location? A bright flash of violet light burst from the ground a short distance ahead of him before the ring could respond. In contrast to the one in the village, the forest was filled with a deafening screech that sounded like grinding metal. Only after the light and sound had passed did Naruto release his massive spherical shield and maximize his force field. When he looked at the explosion's epicenter, he noticed that many of the trees around it were covered in the same crystal structures that had trapped Kiba and Shino. Never mind. Here I go. He prepared his ring, shaped what chakra he could muster, and plunged into the forest below while maintaining his force field. Rushing through the tree barks, the green lantern made its way directly to a lingering gleam of violet light. The lavender glow deepened as he got closer, casting an otherworldly tint over the woods. He soon discovered that the trees were emitting light from malignant crystals that covered their barks rather than merely reflecting it. The crystal deposits grew denser the closer he went. He always kept his ring pointed directly at the light's origin, prepared to release its power at the first hint of a Star Sapphire attack. Naruto found himself in a desolate clearing close to the scene of the most recent explosion as the forest parted. The closest trees were entirely encased in prisons, structures, and crystal pillars all around him, and the ground dropped into a single point in front of him. A humanoid figure was crouched in the middle of the crater, its arms wrapped around its knees. Naruto was persuaded he had found the person he was searching for by their violet glow. He yelled, "Star Sapphire," while pointing his ring straight at the other lantern. "I am Uzumaki Naruto, Green Lantern of Sector 2814. Surrender and come back with me to Konoha, or else I'll beat you up and take you back by force." Naruto heard what sounded like a pained breath after the Star Sapphire appeared to shrug. I wanted to help you, but," the tone of the voice startled the blonde ninja. He said, "You're a girl?" Whispering, "Kiba-kun, Shino-kun, I'm sorry," she said. Then the Star Sapphire rose, spun around, and looked right at Naruto. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun." Without protesting, Naruto slowly dropped his ring arm to his side. He stared back in horror at the figure he recognized instantly, his mouth hanging open. Then he whispered, "Hi, Hinata?" Hinata's new outfit, which contrasted sharply with her heavy coat, was a form-fitting violet suit that covered her arms, legs, and thighs while leaving little room for her front torso. Her raven hair was adorned with a pearly tiara set with a dazzling sapphire, and a white décolletage arched upward from her neck. Despite her new, seductive appearance, Naruto could not take his eyes off of her, which were filled with tears of grief. Tiny fragments of crystal energy dripped from a glowing, pulsing, violet power ring on her right hand, which enveloped her in a twisted aura. The violet power ring sparked violently as Hinata raised her right hand to her heart. She choked out a few ominous words between sobs. "Before I hurt anyone else, Naruto-kun, please, kill me." Hinata uttered the words, Naruto-kun, more like a sob than a whisper. Kiba's tirade against Shino was interrupted when his dog began growling and barking in Hinata's direction. "And another thing, why the hell do you keep wearing winter gear in the middle of Akamaru?" Kiba asked. "Hey, Akamaru, cut it out." The dog sprinted in the direction of the Hyuga girl, defying orders. Kiba and Shino trailed closely behind. Kiba shouted, "What's gotten into you?" to his dog. "Kiba, look," added Shino. Kiba looked after his teammate. He asked no one in particular, "What's this?" A violet light source hovered directly in front of Hinata. Akamaru gave the wisp a menacing growl. When Kiba also saw the glowing power ring with an 8-pointed, hollow star at its head, he let his mouth drop. Aside from the color and sigil, Shino started, it is identical to Naruto's ring. Hyuga Hinata of the planet Earth, you have great loss in your heart." The ring's soft, feminine voice echoed in Hinata's mind as she asked, "How do you know my name?" "Hinata?" she was asked by Shino. "Is it talking to you?" "Shino-kun, you can't hear it. Your comrades cannot hear us, Hyuga Hinata. The pain your love gives you has summoned this ring to you, and only you." My love?" she asked. Kiba repeated, "Wha? You've got a crush?" "The growing void in your heart is like a beacon amidst the darkness, and it must not be extinguished," the ring said. "This universe, too, needs soldiers to combat the darkness. A violet core. You shall be the first of your star sapphires." Hinata questioned it, "And you? Are you like the green ring?" Her entire focus was drawn to the warm, inviting, and intense light, to the extent that she lost awareness of her teammates' presence. "Yes. The Zamorans have harnessed the violet light of love and refined it, and those that wield it willingly will gain powers like those of the Green Lantern Corps. Like Uzumaki Naruto." Shino questioned her, "Hinata, what is it saying to you?" He touched her shoulder, but as he did so, he sensed a rustle from the Kakaichu inside of him. They sensed the ring's tremendous power. Hinata questioned, I don't know if I." Before she could say anything more, the ring interrupted. "Your hesitation is understandable. You have battled with that same self-doubt your whole life. But we have seen what lies in the deepest reaches of your soul, and you have great potential." Hinata insisted, "But Naruto-kun, however, he chose Sakura-san. What I feel doesn't matter anymore." "But you still love him," backfired the ring. "And a star sapphire never ignores what rests in the heart." "Get out of it, Hinata!" Kiba shouted. In an attempt to rouse her from her daze, he reached for the ring, but as soon as he touched it, a sharp pain shot through his arm. "Gah!" "It was Kiba-kun!" she exclaimed. She finally snapped out of her reverie when she saw her friend stumble. "We are sorry," the ring said, "but unfortunately, love too has a dangerous component to it. That is why service to the star sapphires must be voluntary, so that the light can be wielded and not be blinding." She boldly said, "Then I refuse. Instead, I don't want any part with anything that hurts my friends." Without a word, Shino called forth his Kakaichu, which immediately hurried into the ring. When the first few insects touched it, they started to drain its energy, but they abruptly flashed after absorbing 1 erg of power. When Shino ordered his glowing bugs to stop, they dropped to the ground, covered in tiny fragments of violet crystal. According to Shino, what is this? He summoned his insects back, but one queen was still near the ring. One of the hot ones. Ignoring it, the ring went back to Hinata. She gave the order, saying, I said I don't want this power, leave us alone. We cannot. Though you do not know it yet, the people you love need your help. Uzumaki Naruto, in particular, will need your help to combat the approaching darkness. She said again, approaching darkness? There is a prophecy the Zamorans have deciphered. One that is already being fulfilled in our original realm. The forbidden scriptures predict the end of the universe, and all life shall be swallowed in darkness. A brilliant light radiated from the ring into Hinata's eyes. Images flashed into the Hyuga heir's mind, tinted violet. Her mind was filled with images of battles in strange places and in empty spaces illuminated by stars. The fighters engaged in unreserved combat while brandishing rings of varying hues. The pictures came and went until one lingered in her mind for a little while longer. From a huge violet lantern shaped crystal that was quickly destroyed, 2 human-like figures emerged, flying on wings of obsidian pitch. Zamoran, the homeworld of your sisters. .be has already fallen, and you must help prevent the destruction of yours. One last picture burned into her consciousness at this point. Naruto was by himself, bloodied and bruised, with an increasing number of enemies descending on him ravenously. When Hinata saw the forms of the attackers, she shuddered. Mutilated corpses, rotting carcasses, and withered husks made up the invading army. This was the army of darkness. A corpse army. The dead encroaching on him aimed their own obsidian rings at the lone surviving ninja, who held his ring high. Everything turned black in a flash. Naruto.kun. As Hinata finished speaking, she was once more in the Konoha alley, with the power ring in front of her and Akamaru, Kiba, and Shino by her side. Kiba said, Hinata, are you alright? He turned her away from the ring and took her by the shoulders. He never stood a chance, none of us did. Shino asked, what did you see, Hinata? Hinata looked over at him. I'm not sure, she said in response. She swallowed the final sentence, unwilling to remember what the ring revealed would be his final destiny. A vision. A warning. Naruto.kun. It said, we see what lies in the core of your heart, to her. The ring drew nearer to the group and Hinata in particular, and when it spoke again, everyone could hear it. You are willing to sacrifice everything for true love. And true love is threatened. Your true love. A choice now presents itself. Turn away and let all you love fall into shadow, or embrace the light and allow the star sapphire to fill the hole of your broken heart so that love may continue to battle hate and fear across the universe. Kiba and Shino stared at her while Hinata stared at the ring. Kakaichu, the only queen, hovered near the ring that was approaching. That must have been a hell of a warning, Kiba replied. Then, with greater gravity, he said, Hinata, what are you thinking right now? I don't know, she replied. I'm flattered, but... Akamaru's growl underlined Shino's next statement to her. Hinata, from what I understand from Naruto, these rings do not make their choices lightly. But this ring is different from his. It feels dangerous, wild. She remarked, but it needs me, Naruto.kun will need my help. For what? She was asked by Kiba. Just because it gave you light, show means you'll blindly believe what it says. She said to him, Kiba.kun, it was more than just the vision. She stepped forward toward the violet ring and said, the ring, what it said to me, it spoke to my heart. There is a great evil approaching. Naruto.kun will have to face it. I won't let him do it alone. Kiba objected, but the ring interrupted him. Which shall it be? Hinata stepped forward once more. Are you really going to risk yourself like that? Why? Just for Naruto? Kiba asked, grabbing her by the arm. Hinata turned to face Kiba. His face showed his concern. When she turned to face the dog, Akamaru gave a little whine. She saw more than the icy, masked Aburame when she looked at Shino. She could see what he knew, what he understood, and what he was thinking beneath his sunglasses. She only needed a nod from him to know she was correct. She said, for the 3 of you, for Kurenai, Sensei, for Oto, Sama, Hanabi, Nichan, Neji, Nisan, for all of Konoha. And Naruto.kun, she said, turning back to the ring, taking a step forward, and holding up her right hand to it. Her white pupils suddenly took on a lavender hue, and her eyes displayed the same star-shaped symbol. I accept. The ring slid onto Hinata's right middle finger after wildly zipping around her a few times. Welcome, Star Sapphire. Gia, violet crystal shards started to surround Hinata, causing pain to shoot through her body. Hinata! Exclaimed Kiba and Shino. The crystals continued to grow as they both hurried toward her. It settled itself on Hinata's outstretched hand just as the thick crystal covered it completely, and only the Queen Kakaichu arrived in time to catch her. As he struck the violet crystal, Kiba exclaimed, Hinata! Once more. The Hyuga heir's cries, however, grew softer and subsided as it grew brighter. Then, as the crystal started to break, Kiba and Shino both took a step back. Hinata let out a sudden, moan. Then her prison structure broke apart, scattering pieces across the alley. Yes, she exclaimed, breaking out of her hard cocoon. When Kiba, Shino, and Akamaru saw her lantern uniform, they couldn't speak. She looked sultry in the tight, skimpy violet suit, a far cry from the bashful girl they had known for years. She was asked by Shino, "How do you feel?" Hinata smiled broadly and warmly, bringing her hand to her face and carefully examining the ring. "I feel," the ring sparked a little, and her smile faltered. With a grimace, she reached for her right hand with her left. Wrong. Kiba stepped toward her and said, "Hinata? Warning, corruption detected." Hinata retreated from her teammates, but they were unfazed. "No, leave me alone. I can't, please. I can't, no." Dozens of crystal shards erupted from her ring as it flashed. Suddenly, a huge flash of light burst forth, illuminating the alley with violet light. "Right now. Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer. Space Sector 2814. Hyuga Hinata is her name. She's a strange girl, but she's a good friend and one of my dependable allies. She is selected as a lantern as well. A sapphire of stars. She simply asked me to murder her." At first, Hinata's request left Naruto speechless. "No way. Are you nuts? I'm not going to kill you over an accident." "I can't control it," Hinata cried while crying. "Please, Naruto-kun. Hurry, I don't know how long I can hold back." Naruto retorted, "Stop talking like that, Hinata, I'll take you back to Konoha, and together we'll help Kiba and Shino." "It's too late," she shook her head in response. "Of course not, you can." Her words, "I can't," prevented him. "Hinata." Naruto stepped forward hesitantly. He was told to stay back by her. The violet ring burst into vines of light like violet plants as she moved. As they grew, the tendrils came closer to the Green Lantern. To defend himself, Naruto held up his own ring. "NGH." Hinata grunted, constricting her fist and pushing the tendrils away. As the vines withdrew, the light defiantly obeyed her, yet it remained. "You have to end this, Naruto-kun. Please." He assured her, "I'm not going to kill you in any way." He moved in the direction of the Star Sapphire once more. "Let me help you. I can teach you how to use the ring." She repeated, "Please, Naruto-kun. It can't be controlled." When he finally got to her, he put his hands lightly on her shoulders and said, "Yes, it can. Don't doubt yourself, Hinata. Your will is its trigger. I can help you, trust me." Then she whispered, "Trust." Her aura briefly diminished as she lowered her head. Still dancing around her, the light retreated into the ring of violet. "Yeah, that's it," insisted Naruto. "Just focus on what you wanted to do." She said, "What I want." Again. A female voice said, "Warning. Corruption detected," which Naruto heard. He began, "Huh? Is that your—" But Hinata's head shot up. Suddenly, a violet fire danced around the Star Sapphire insignia in her white eyes. Her smile was out of character as she gazed at Naruto. Naruto recoiled in surprise at the scene. "I want you," said Hinata. "Warning. Emotional detonation imminent." Naruto recognized his own ring's voice this time. Hinata burst into fiery light before he could speak. Just in time to shield himself from the outburst, Naruto raised a tower shield. As the light faded, he discovered that the front of his construct was now covered in the same violet crystals as before. When he removed the shield and allowed Hinata's constructions to fall to the crater floor, Hinata sprang forward and seized him tightly. "Hinata! What are you doing?" Hinata and Naruto then leapt into the air, saying, "Uzumaki Naruto. Body of desire. This is long overdue." As he tried in vain to break free of her unusually tight hold, he asked her, "What's gotten into you? Is this what you were talking? MPH?" When Naruto felt Hinata's lips against his own, his thoughts briefly stopped. It took a moment for his mind to register her kiss, and then another moment for him to feel a hard, cold crystal form from their joined mouths. While dozens of tiny green picks were breaking apart the crystal, Naruto summoned large pliers that swiftly forced open the Star Sapphire's arms, ignoring the increasing numbness on his face. Naruto swiftly flew back from the Hyuga heiress after being set free. His words, "You're not Hinata," the Star Sapphire answered, "Don't disregard what your heart desires." Naruto shouted, "What have you done with Hinata?" at her. He pointed his ring at the other lantern reluctantly but determinedly. Intoned, "Hyuga Hinata." She put her hand over the left side of her chest and continued. Her fear and self-doubt overcame what her heart wished to shout with all her might. "But I'm going to help her. No longer will her heart be silenced." Naruto retorted, "I don't care for your babbling. Let Hinata go, now. Not until love is fulfilled. Not until life is protected from hate and fear and preserved in love," she replied. Her eyes sharpened, and Naruto noticed the veins beside them widen. He could still see the telltale signs of her special Byakugan ability activating, even though she was still violet and covered by the Star Sapphire's symbol. She concluded by offering Naruto an invitation with her hand. "And you will help me," she said. "Like hell." Naruto shot two beams that encircled and entangled Hinata like taut ropes, putting all hesitancy aside. She declared, "You will not resist me, Naruto-kun." Naruto's constructs disappeared as the intense violet tinge that filled her entire body intensified. Dammy. Love conquers all. A brilliant violet explosion burst from Hinata's entire form, engulfing the surrounding area and causing her to vanish. Instantly, Naruto called forth a suit of armor and prepared to be struck by the force of the Star Sapphire ring. He heard a loud screech reverberating throughout their location as the armor began to slowly peel away. Until the violet light faded, the Green Lantern was sufficiently protected by the armor, which hardly held together. Naruto wasted no time in projecting a dense, foam-like structure at his erstwhile comrade. After splattering the Star Sapphire, the gel solidified, transforming the structure into a durable sealant that resembled rubber. Hinata said, "This will not hold me, Naruto-kun," as more vines continued to grow from her ring. Before twisting back and engulfing the green apparition, her constructs exploded out of her prison. After absorbing Naruto's attack, the plant, like violet tendrils, expanded into a vast forest of spiky vines, seemingly using it as nutrient-rich feed. Whoa! Naruto swerved to the side as two tendrils darted by him. Soon after, in a flurry of light and pliable crystal, came the rest. Zooming through the attack's narrow gaps, Naruto charged at Hinata. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto and 11 clones, all armed with the Green Lantern ring, attacked the Star Sapphire from various directions. Hinata retaliated by pulling back her vines and pointing at her assailants. A few clones were reached by some of the plants, while those it captured vanished in a cloud of smoke with a hint of green. When two clones finally made it to Hinata, they each took one of her arms and clung to her. Naruto went straight up to her. He covered his left hand with a thick gauntlet in a flash. "I hope this doesn't hurt you, Hinata," he replied. Naruto clutched the Star Sapphire ring in his gloved hand as the clones continued to hold her and the remaining violet constructs closed in on her from behind. From the point of contact, sparks of jade and amethyst flew out, and the remaining constructs, both Naruto's and Hinata's, dissolved into oblivion. Gah! Both of them cried out. Their bodies were jolted by a surge of violet energy. Hinata recovered in that instant when Naruto released her from the agony. She shouted, "Life must be preserved." She tapped the two clones with her middle and index fingers while simultaneously twisting her wrists. The clones vanished even though they were touched gently. With her left arm raised behind her and her right arm lowered in front of her, Hinata knelt in midair. Juken. Ho. Murasaki Hake, Rokuhuian Sho. That's Neji's, Naruto stumbled, learning the most deadly and challenging technique used by the Hyuga clan. When did she? But the Star Sapphire hurried him before he could finish. Hinata tagged Naruto with two blows to the chest, saying, "Hake ni Sho. Gwa. Yan Sho. Hachi Sho. Jiraku Sho." Hinata hit Naruto repeatedly with the chakra. Debilitating attack, demonstrating a command of the technique that nearly equaled Neji's. Each blow sent waves of erratic energy through his body, amplified by the violet ring. Sanjuni Sho. By the 32nd strike, Hinata's fingers were tipped with sharp crystal coverings due to the Star Sapphire power's intense focus and fusion with her chakra. With each new blow, Naruto was viciously stabbed in addition to having his tenketsu rendered weaker. By the time Hinata delivered her second last blow, Naruto had started coughing up blood. Rokuhuian Sho. Her last blow with her palms fell directly on Naruto's heart, and a massive crystal structure emerged from it to imprison him in an unending cage. Naruto-kun. Hinata muttered to herself. The girl shuddered as she saw Naruto, his uniform covered in blood, lying motionless inside the creation she had created as gravity started to pull the crystal. When the figure inside the falling crystal vanished in a cloud of smoke, she let out a gasp. She exclaimed, "Shadow clone?" with a mixture of surprise and relief. She heard, "Hinata, forgive me," over her. The real Naruto was swiftly descending from the sky above when the star Sapphire turned around. On his right hand, the final clone created a focused spinning sphere of emerald light with the aid of the green ring. Quickly approaching Hinata's position, the remaining Green Lantern retaliated with his attack as the last clone vanished. Midori Rasengan. Whispering, "Naruto-kun," Hinata said. Rather than strike, she remained motionless. She welcomed the attack and spread her arms wide as Naruto closed in. "Hinata." She shut her eyes and awaited the Rasengan's blow. "Do what you must," she said. She knew it would kill her, defenseless. Naruto also became aware of it. No. Naruto spared the star Sapphire the worst of the attack by throwing his arm sideways at the last second, but he was unable to get out of the way in time. Both of them sprawled from the heavens to the earth below as the Green Lantern and his opponent collided. The violent dispersion of chakra and willpower jetted Naruto even faster as his Rasengan destabilized and exploded outward. Hinata landed softer a few yards away from Naruto, who crashed hard onto the crystal forest floor. Naruto-kun. Hinata sailed slowly toward her fallen friend. She had lost some of her aura, but it was gradually returning. Naruto was lying flat on the broken ground when she landed and knelt down in front of him. "Hina, ta," Naruto mumbled as he felt himself approaching unconsciousness. When her aura became more intense, Hinata stopped short of caressing the growing bump on his head. She questioned him, "Why? Why can't you do it? You saw what I did." "It's not your fault," Naruto uttered as he gradually regained consciousness. She sobbed, "It's only a matter of time." She found it difficult to contain her tears. She grabbed Naruto's right hand and touched her own heart with his ring. She paused for a moment before continuing, "Protect everything I love. Please, Naruto-kun. Don't let me harm anyone else. Protect Konoha. Protect yourself. Protect," she said. He shook his head lightly in response, asking, "How can I protect myself or Konoha by killing you?" Naruto's final words, "I already failed Sasuke. I could never live if I gave up on someone else I care about," caused Hinata to gasp. Naruto forced himself to sit up straight and met Hinata's gaze. "I'll save you too. I have to. I will not fail anyone else ever again, even if I have to die. Hinata, I will never abandon you or any of my comrades." Hinata remained silent. It was evident from the tears that streamed down her cheeks. Although the light around her brightened, it did not wildly dance. It stayed motionless, peaceful, and quiet for the time being. She laid Naruto's arm down by his side and gently pushed it away from her. "Thank you," she said with tears. "Thank you, Naruto-kun." Hinata got to her feet as her aura grew stronger and started to churn. Hinata inhaled deeply before gradually lifting her own ring beneath her chin, saying, "At least, I can be at peace, knowing that you believe in me, until the very end." "Hinata, are you?" As her ring grew brighter, she remarked, I will protect all that I love, even from myself." Naruto exclaimed, "Don't be stupid," as a bright, dense dot of light appeared at the top of the star Sapphire ring. "Goodbye, Naruto-kun." The star Sapphire exhaled one last time. His own ring was aimed by the Green Lantern. "Hinata." Shizune questioned her fellow medic, "Are you sure there's nothing we can do, Sakura?" "Unfortunately, no," Sakura informed her from her chair. Sakura painstakingly inspected every millimeter of a different, smaller piece of star sapphire crystal under a microscope while Shizune futilely attempted to break Kiba free from his imprisoning crystal using another of her numerous medical jutsus. One of Shino's insects was caught by this one. "See for yourself." To allow Shizune to examine the violet construct for herself, Sakura got up from her chair. Sakura then went to check on Kiba and Shino, who were still trapped and lying motionless on two beds next to each other. Ignoring his own encased leg, Akamaru lay in a corner beside its master and friend. The main apprentice of the Hokage studied the crystal as thoroughly as her co-worker. She remarked, "It's incredible, I don't see any structure to this crystal at all. If I weren't touching it, I'd say it was just light, and the Kakaichu." "So you noticed too?" Shizune went on, "It's perfectly preserved, even more so than if it were frozen. The construct is keeping them all in stasis," Sakura remarked as she gave Akamaru a gentle pat. "I can only presume that it's just like Naruto's own green constructs. Coalesced, controlled light made solid by some means that we're nowhere close to understanding." But why are these constructs not disappearing, unlike Naruto? Kanzone, Shizune inquired. Maybe each power ring works differently, and the violet light has a more permanent presence, replied Sakura. Akamaru, who was obviously aware of Shizune's feelings, complained, I sincerely hope not. Personally, I don't even know where to start treatment. She said, it'll be alright, boy, as Sakura tenderly caressed its fur. We're not going to give up. Sakura remarked, the star sapphire will know how to cure them. The young nurse looked out the window toward the lowering sun and said, and I trust Naruto will bring him back. Naruto was returning more slowly than she had anticipated. Instead, she reflected, had he been vanquished by the other lantern? Sakura briefly pictured Naruto lying on one of the hospital beds as well, and she shuddered when she saw him trapped in yet another violet crystal. A green speck of light appeared in the corner of her eye, grew larger, and streaked in the direction of the hospital, erasing her fear. Sakura shouted, he's back, to Shizune. She and Akamaru swiftly turned to face the former, but Sakura had already fled the room before Shizune could ask any questions. The pink-haired ninja soon arrived at the hospital's main lobby. Another person wearing a Green Lantern uniform was in the arms of a masked Naruto. He hunched over and started to breathe heavily, already being approached by a number of patients and nurses. Sakura hurried over, lifted Naruto, and took on some of the weight of the other lantern. I got you, she expressed to him. She turned to face the stunned nurses and commanded, I need 2 carts over here. Stat. Her co-workers hurried to comply. Sakura then turned back to her friend, but she nearly lost control of them both when she saw the star sapphire for the first time. She stopped when she saw Naruto's pleading, knowing face staring right at her. It can't be. Hin. She said. She didn't finish, but she understood. Sakura. Here. Shizune and another nurse rushed over to the three at that precise moment. Sakura silently assisted in setting Hinata on the first cot, while Naruto labored to conceal her face with a crude cloth-like device. The Hokage's assistant realized his intention and repressed her own surprise as well, but it was too late to stop Shizune from recognizing her. You too, Sakura said to Naruto, purposefully omitting his name because of the nearby individuals. I'm fine, he protested, but she, like hell you are, retorted Sakura. She touched his forehead, then moved her hand over the big lump on his temple. You have a concussion and are low on chakra. We'll take care of her, I promise, Shizune assured him, so please, listen to Sakura. Naruto said, oh, okay, and fell onto the cart, unconscious. When Sakura emerged from the private room in the intensive care unit, Kakashi inquired, how are they? Naruto's sleeping. He had a concussion and a few bruised muscles, but he'll be alright soon. But Hinata. She paused. Kurenai Yuhi's fist clenched in anticipation of serious news. I can't remove her ring. Every time I try, it emits powerful shocks that repel anything it touches. When I use tools, holding it for more than an instant crystallized whatever I use. While Shizune briefed Tsunade, Sakura was accompanied by Kakashi and Sai, who waited to hear Kurenai's response. Hinata's instructor took a deep breath, all three of them. Kakashi said, don't blame yourself, Kurenai, without hesitation. The older female ninja replied, I don't, to him, and strangely enough, I don't blame the violet ring, either. Sai inquired, what did Naruto say about its powers? Not much else than what Shizune and I deduced from examining the remaining constructs, Sakura replied. The constructs it can generate are similar to Naruto's, except longer, lasting. But also. Also what? Asked Kakashi. He said Hinata seemed to be fighting against using it. When she did tap its power, it's as if she was another person entirely. Could it be a side effect from the ring? Sai inquired. Maybe, was Sakura's only response. Though that would be different from the lack of those effects on Naruto's and even Itachi's rings. We won't know for certain until we can ask Hinata. Kakashi then inquired, do you know when she will wake up? Sakura let out a sigh before responding to her sensei, saying, I can't say for certain. It may be a few hours or a few days. If at all. Sai, my apologies, Kakashi. Sensei. I did not intend any doubt on Sakura's judgment, but it is a possibility, Sai said. If Hyuga Hinata was fighting against the ring's second personality, she may be fighting it still. Perhaps she is forcing herself unconscious. To protect everyone from herself. Hence, if her ring cannot be removed, she may fight against the ring's influence forever. And if she loses? The words, she won't, Kurenai interrupted Kakashi. Kurenai looked sideways at the room and said, I know Hinata better than most. Beneath her shy, introverted exterior lies an extremely capable shinobi. No matter how long it takes her, she will win. All we need to do is wait. Kakashi, Sakura and Sai followed Kurenai's gaze to the room where her students and Naruto were being cared for, as though anticipating that her words would soon come to pass. "Get your hands off her!" roared Naruto from inside. Without any delay, the four ninjas rushed into the room. Naruto emerged from his bed and held Hinata behind him, shielded by one of his spheres. A tiny dart that protruded from the corner of Akamaru's neck kept him asleep in spite of the commotion. A masked Anbu was lying collapsed in front of an open window on the other end of the room. The covert ops agent was the direct target of Naruto's ring. Naruto was asked by Sakura, "What happened?" She started in his direction but stopped when four more Anbu units appeared beside their fallen comrade. To the Anbu unit, Naruto yelled, "More of you bastards?" One of the men told him to move away from the Hyuga girl, Uzumaki Naruto. The first one was helped up by two others. The five spies were firmly asked by Kurenai, "What do you want with Hyuga Hinata?" "We have our orders," retorted the hawk-faced Anbu. Naruto hurled back, "I don't care who's pulling your strings, but you're not taking Hinata." The five Anbu units knelt down a little. At this point, Kakashi lifted the forehead protector from his left Sharingan eye. Sakura raised her fists, and Kurenai sealed her hands together. Only Sai remained silent. "I thought so," Kakashi said, looking sideways at Sai while maintaining his Sharingan pointed at the five Anbu. "You're with Root." Kakashi's allies grunted, but the five attacking ninjas stayed motionless. Kurenai questioned him, "You're certain of this?" The copy ninja suggested. Sai doesn't raise a hand against them for a reason. Sai turned to face Sakura and looked at the others. "Sai, how could you?" His expression did not reveal if he sensed anything from her stunned expression. "You bastard," yelled Naruto. "I should have known better than." Kurenai admonished them all to be careful. The Anbu ran in Naruto's direction during the distraction. The five created various seals in their hands, but Naruto brought his ideas to life before they or their opponents could respond. Five green foxes appeared from the emerald ring, slammed into the five Anbu, and pinned them against the opposite wall before any jutsu or attack could start. The Green Lantern got up and strode toward his adversaries, but he continued to keep Hinata safe inside a bubble-like structure. "Hyuga Hinata is a fellow ninja of Konoha," he spat at the five. "You jerks will treat her as such." "Naruto," muttered Sakura. Sakura knew her teammate well enough to know that his willpower was not the only thing leaking out of the ring, even when he was facing away from them. His voice was filled with intense rage and hatred. "A Konoha ninja does not attack fellow ninjas," the same Anbu with the hawk face shot back. As the fox construct that was holding him roared and slashed at his mask, it said, "Something you should know very well, Uzumaki Naruto. Or have you forgotten Uchiha Sasuke?" Its owner grunted from the blow, and the eagle-shaped cover cracked but remained solid. Kakashi noticed faint orange-red blotches blending with Naruto's green aura from behind. "Don't mention Sasuke," he blurted out, his teeth clenched. "And a true Konoha ninja knows how to follow orders," the Anbu stated. "Ours come from the highest authority. If you defy us, you defy Konoha, and will be a traitor." "There's no way the elders would say something like that," said Kurenai. "I will say this one last time, Uzumaki. Relinquish Hyuga Hinata, or suffer the consequences." "If this is what Konoha's leaders want, then to hell with them," Naruto yelled. "I am not just a Konoha ninja. I am the Green Lantern of Sector 2814. And as such, Hyuga Hinata, Star Sapphire, falls under my jurisdiction." The emerald aura around him was tainted by larger blotches of orange chakra. The green ring glowed brighter, and the five fox constructs opened their jaws to bite the defenseless Anbu. "If you so much as touch her, I'll kill you." Warning. Power corrupted. Power levels 21%. GH. The concoction of green willpower and orange chakra twisted wildly around Naruto. His head thumped with each heartbeat, and he clasped it. Kakashi exclaimed, "This is bad. The Kyuubi's chakra is draining his ring." After churning and twisting, the five fox constructs disappeared into thin air. The sphere's light significantly dimmed, but the one surrounding Hinata remained intact. The five Anbu suddenly charged at the defenseless lanterns. "Naruto!" exclaimed Sakura. Naruto and Hinata were under attack from the Anbu. Two voices yelled, "Hake!" simultaneously. From behind Naruto's allies, two fresh ninjas rushed forward and slammed their palms down on the four Anbu next to the hawk. Faced one. They then united and used their middle and index fingers to tag the leader on four separate tenketsu. In front of Naruto and his two guardians, all five Anbu fell to their knees. Incredulous, Kurenai exclaimed, "Neji? Hanabi?" The younger Hyuga girl commanded the masked ninjas to leave my sister alone. Standing to the right of her cousin Neji, still in his hospital robes, was the gifted Hyuga heiress. Sakura reprimanded him, saying, "Neji, you're still recovering from Itachi's attack." "I'm well enough for this," replying the youthful Junin. There was not enough red discoloration on either side of his neck to worry Sakura for long. "Despite your protests," the Anbu leader said, "you cannot overturn Danzo Sama's orders." Another voice said, "Maybe they can't, but I certainly can," coming from behind Kakashi. After turning, he and Kurenai moved quickly to avoid the newest arrival. Almost casually, a tall, long-haired man in a traditional kimono entered the room and was immediately recognized by everyone. In spite of his seemingly composed demeanor, his active Byakugan demonstrated otherwise. Naruto moved aside to allow him to stand in front of the hawk-faced foe, but it was not easy. "Heishi Sama?" stammered the lead Anbu. The head of the Hyuga clan gazed down at Hinata's danger. Hiyoshi's attention was fixed on the ninja in front of him, even though his bloodline limit permitted him to see in full circles. Even though his order was straightforward, there was an implied threat toward the five and the person who sent them on their capture mission in the tone of his voice. "Leave. Now. If your master objects, I shall accommodate him, personally." The leader caught the attention of the other four Anbu. He remained silent for a few seconds before lowering his head just enough to make all five Anbu vanish. Everyone in the room lowered their attack stances and took deep breaths. Sakura assisted Neji to a nearby chair as a precaution, and Kakashi held Naruto in case the Kyuubi chakra leak caused any negative effects. Sakura said, "Why is Heishi Sama here?" to Neji. "Oto-san and I were visiting Neji." Nissan, Hanabi clarified himself. "When we heard Naruto yell we thought he was overreacting, but then Otou-san saw what was happening." Sai started to say, "I should note, I did not know of any of," but Naruto cut him off. "It was just, get out," he said. Sai wanted to object, but his heart ached once more and came back with a vengeance. The sight of the accusing looks from the other ninjas only made the malignancy worse. Sai turned and left the room without further comment. Heishi said, "Uzumaki Naruto," to the Green Lantern. Without Kakashi's assistance, Naruto straightened up despite a slight grogginess. The Green Lantern caught the clan head's attention. "It is my understanding that you brought back Hinata safely?" "I'm sorry, sir," was his response. "I had to stun her." "You saved her," expressed Heishi. He touched him on the shoulder. After some hesitation, Naruto finally gave Hinata's father a feeble smile and said, "And for that, you have my gratitude." He took a step back and hovered the unconscious Star Sapphire onto her father's arms, which were waiting for her. Heishi carried Hinata back to her bed and laid her down gently without saying a word. None of the others responded to the question, "If I may have a moment with my daughter?" Naruto, Kurenai, Sakura, and Kakashi left the room as Hanabi went to her family and Neji stayed in his chair. The last person out, Naruto, took a quick look over his shoulder. His final sight before shutting the door behind him was of Heishi covering Hinata's forehead with his hand and Hanabi holding Hinata's left arm. "Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer. Space Sector 2814. And I curse the day I received this ring for the first time since it occurred. The attempt by Anbu Root to capture Hinata was 2 days ago." Tsunade was immediately informed of what had transpired by Kakashi and Kurenai, and she pledged to increase security around the intensive care ward while they all awaited the Star Sapphire's recovery. Others put special sentry ward jutsus on the windows, while 2 of her hand-picked Anbu, both from the Hyuga clan, stayed outside constantly. Although such actions had not yet been required, the Hokage and the clan favored taking a cautious stance. Naruto's mood was reflected in the afternoon. Around noon, rain clouds had engulfed the village, and shortly after, they parted to reveal a continuous downpour punctuated by lightning strikes. However, Naruto ignored the storm outside and focused only on the bed to his right, where Hinata lay peacefully, breathing only weakly and shallowly. Sakura screamed, "Pay attention, damn it," at him. It had been a while since she had visited. "Huh?" She pointed to 2 covered trays on the nightstand beside his bed and said, "You haven't touched your food for the past day." He said, "I'm not hungry," while continuing to stare at the sleeping form. Sakura reprimanded Naruto, saying, "You have to eat, Naruto," but her tone was softer this time. Naruto turned away from Hinata and gazed at the green ring, saying, "You're never going to properly regain your strength otherwise, much less recharge your ring." Sakura took the lunch tray from the nightstand and spoke while he remained silent. "Remember what Kurenai-sensei told us. Hinata's a fighter. And she's fighting against the ring's influence now. I'm sure that no matter how long it takes her, she wanted me to kill her. If Sakura was taken aback by Naruto's abrupt interruption, the content of his message made her drop the tray and spill its contents onto the floor. What? He turned his gaze back to her and said, she tried to kill herself. She begged me to kill her so she wouldn't hurt anyone, when I couldn't. But, why didn't you tell me? You said she was fighting its influence. She was his response. Naruto looked back at Sakura before pointing to Hinata. And she was losing. She regained her senses for a moment, and if I hadn't stopped her, she wouldn't be here now. She doesn't want to wake up. She wants to die, and take that other Hinata with her. Sakura hurried over to the Star Sapphire and put 2 fingers on the side of her neck after saying, "You're the medic. Just look at her. Her breathing's been shallowing out for hours. Her pulse is probably weaker too." When the medic Nin slowly withdrew her hand, Naruto realized he was correct. Sakura didn't have much to say. She did not question Kurenai's claim of Hinata's strengths, even if they were concealed, because she was aware of the caliber of Konoha's Junin. However, she was also familiar with Naruto, and he was only depressed when he was thinking about Sasuke. In addition, the medical data did not support a favorable prognosis. With more resentment than he meant to convey, he asked, "Still think she's gonna get better?" He was not shocked when Sakura held back, even though he briefly believed she would clobber him. "We'll be back soon," she said, adding, "I'll tell Tsunade Sama and ask for her help." Sakura left the room and shut the door behind her, reluctantly avoiding Naruto's eyes. Naruto waited silently for a while, but he wasn't sure how long. Carefully dragging its crystallized leg to avoid breaking it, Akamaru crawled to his side. Like Naruto, the dog ignored the food that had spilled despite being so close to it. At last, he whispered to it, "You're worried about them all, aren't you, boy?" Whining, Kiba's companion pressed its nose to Naruto's right hand. Akamaru's neck was lightly scratched by the blonde boy. The dog lifted its free paw and curled it over Naruto's arm, saying, "So am I." For a while longer, the two kept silent, each reassuring the other of their concerns for their fellows. While the dog kept its paw on the lantern's left arm, Naruto ceased scratching Akamaru and contented himself with holding his hand on its head. Akamaru looked at Shino, Kiba, and Hinata in equal measure, but Naruto's eyes were fixed firmly on the Star Sapphires. He questioned her, "Have you really given up?" He took a deep breath and suppressed the final sentence, "Are you so resigned to?" Akamaru's head snapped to attention and sprang in the direction of the Star Sapphire. Not caring that the construct in its leg was beginning to crack under the strain, the dog released Naruto and pulled itself to Hinata's side. It was Naruto who called after it, "Hold up! What's wrong, boy?" Leaning toward the unconscious girl, he rose from his bed with some effort. Her shallow breaths were no longer audible to him. Naruto covered her mouth with his hand and said, "Hinata?" His hand didn't feel any air massage. Sakura's previous test was awkwardly repeated by the young lantern, who exclaimed, "She's not breathing." He touched several spots on her neck with his right index and middle fingers. He was only vaguely familiar with medicine enough to know how to spot even a weak pulse. "Nothing." He shouted, "Don't you dare," at her. He had enough experience with ninja emergency triage to know how to perform basic resuscitation, so he put her hand on her bare chest and started pumping rhythmically after a brief pause during which any awkward or perverted thoughts were instantly thrown out. "Don't you give up," he said. After 15 attempts, he opened her mouth, inhaled deeply, then pressed his own against hers and immediately gave her his air. "Breathe, Hinata. Breathe, one more time." "Nothing." "Breathe, damn it." 2 breaths and 15 presses. "Nothing." "No, once more." "Nothing." "Live, Hinata." He pressed the green ring on top of her heart as a last ditch bet, and his left hand grabbed hers and pulled. Live, the green ring flooded her with energy. The ring turned violet. Love. Corruption detected. Will. Emotional detonation imminent. Arkarkarkarkarkarkarkarkar. "You're so stupid, Naruto," Sakura remarked. Naruto remained silent as he lay in bed, saying, "She's still alive, but that was still stupid." But Naruto remained silent. "You knew the risks her ring posed, and you still touched it. Why?" She sat on his bed and rubbed his forehead, feeling the cool roughness of the crystal growing on it and the soft warmth of his skin. "Why did you endanger yourself like that?" she asked. "Why did you have to leave me alone?" One of the hospital's Anbu guards interrupted her as she was pleading with Tsunade for assistance, bringing up the increasing noise level in the room. He described how, despite the Star Sapphire's own ring's light enveloping and wildly dancing around him, they witnessed Naruto pouring his green energy onto her. Even their advanced jutsus could not handle the power, so one of them stayed to keep an eye on things while the other informed the Hokage. Akamaru was carrying the unconscious Naruto on its back when Sakura, Shizune, and Tsunade arrived in the room. Naruto was covered in shards of crystal, but Hinata was still alive. He had been consumed by the overloading power of the ring, and the shards had become thicker crystals over the past few hours. His contaminated clothing was taken off by the nurses, but this only slowed the spread. An additional examination showed that the crystals were developing inside and outside of him. Now that he was only wearing a plain hospital bedsheet and had crystals growing all over his nude body, Naruto was dying. She remarked, "You promised me." Her question went unanswered. "You promised me we'd bring back Sasuke together. You're not going to break that promise, are you?" Sakura became quiet for a while. She began once more, forcing herself to smile weakly. "You know, this reminds me of our very first mission," she said. As with her previous query, Naruto remained silent. That was almost 3 years ago. It's hard to imagine how fast time goes by, isn't it? Sakura put her outstretched hand on his cheek. Sakura had to halt in order to manage the swelling lump on her throat. "You're getting colder, and the look of these constructs. You look and feel just like Sasuke 3 years ago. When I saw him lying there, motionless, embedded with so many of Haku's needles, it was as if my heart were being crushed in a twisting grip. That was the first time I broke Shinobi saying number 25. You must possess a heart that never shows tears." She released Naruto and raised her gaze away from him. "When Sasuke woke up, I broke it again out of happiness. Since then, I've lost count of how many times I've cried. I couldn't keep control of my heart. Do you think that makes me a bad shinobi?" She asked him without expecting a response, after Sasuke left. "After you returned and promised me you'd drag him back if you had to. That was the last time I cried. I stopped crying, strengthened my heart and my skills, and I swore to you we'd bring him back together. That the three of us would be one team again, and I." She gave a single sniff. Sakura sniffed once more, and the knot in her throat grew even tighter. "I wouldn't be alone again." She raised her hand to her face and gently touched a single tear that was streaming down her cheek. "But Sasuke's still gone, and now you," she said. "I guess I wasn't strong enough." Sakura ignored the pain of the crystals sticking to her skin as she abruptly turned to face Naruto and folded her arms across him. She buried her face and cried uncontrollably. Her cries reverberated throughout the space, waking an Akamaru that had been asleep. Knowing Sakura's feelings, Kiba's faithful companion could only moan, "I can't bear it. You can't die, Naruto. You promised we'd be together again. So please, wake up." Sakura's shouts paused for a second before she whispered, "Don't leave me alone. You always beat the odds. You always overcome all your challenges, so don't give up. Don't just lie down and die, don't." The Hokage strode into the intensive care unit as the door opened. Her hand touched Sakura's shoulder and she said, "Sakura, let's go." "I won't leave him," she said at her sensei's insistence. She was informed by Tsunade that, "We're not giving up on any of them." Sakura reluctantly got up and followed Tsunade out after a few seconds, saying, "I'm leading the entire research team myself. I could use your help." Sakura shut the door behind her. "I'll do my best," she told Naruto, "so don't give up yet. Use that will of yours that led the green ring to you. Stay alive." The words, "I don't know what to say," were muttered by Sai. Using all of his root training, he was able to enter the intensive care unit covertly, evade the Anbu guards and all of their defense jutsus, and, once inside, surround the room with a sound barrier jutsu. "I knew I had to see you, but now that I'm here, I don't know what to do." All Sai could do was gaze at Naruto and the crystals that now encased half of his body. The malignant growths had spread to his back, legs, and large areas of his front torso, and his left arm was fully entombed. Fragments of violet protruded from his forehead and face at random. The only part of his body that was not hit by the Star Sapphire's attack was his lower right arm, which was encased in the gentle, fading emerald glow of his own ring. Sai briefly looked away from Naruto and said, "I guess I should start by admitting something. Something that, although I cannot understand it, has caused me physical discomfort." He paused, then said, "I was to spy on you, Green Lantern." He grabbed his chest and said, "I truly had no idea the five would attempt to abduct Hyuga Hinata. But I most confess, I..." Sai reached into one of his pockets and took out a thin pamphlet without turning to face Naruto. "When I was given the order, and when I accepted it, an unknown malady struck me. I feel pain where none was before whenever I was given similar orders. My chest tightens, as if an enemy were reaching in and compressing my heart. I copied down something I read in a book. It was about making friends, and what not to do to them. When a friend is betrayed, or you do something behind his back, it says that if a true bond has been established, then one might feel an emotion called regret, caused by another negative feeling of guilt. Now Sai turned to face Naruto directly. After a brief pause, he glanced through his pamphlet once more before speaking to the unconscious boy, saying, "Perhaps the word is appropriate. I am guilty." He waited for an answer from Naruto even though he didn't really expect one. "I found that between friends, the way for a guilty party to repair the strained bond is to apologize. But if I am following orders from my superiors for the good of Konoha, is it appropriate to apologize? Must duty overcome friendship?" He waited in vain for Naruto to say, "You of all ninjas would know much about this, given your bond with Uchiha Sasuke and his betrayal. I wonder, is the way I feel now similar to the way he or you feel about each other?" After a while, Sai hung his head. "I suppose I may never know now." The voice was quiet but monotone. "Such questions cannot receive answers so easily," it said. Sai clutched the tanto he was carrying on his back and looked around, startled by the sudden noise. "Who's there?" "Sai of the planet Earth. Despite your harsh training, you are not devoid of empathy." Sai kept looking for the source of the voice. The Inuzuka dog was still asleep from the innocuous jutsu Sai had applied to it when he first entered, and no one else was around. He noticed that the green ring was glowing a little brighter as he turned. "This is the voice of the ring's sentience?" "Affirmative." Sai dropped his weapon at this point and knelt near Naruto's right hand, where the green ring shone its gentle emerald light on his face. "You know my thoughts. And your feelings. You feel remorse and guilt for betraying your friend, despite following your orders. This is normal. But your doubts cannot be answered with mere words, or with simple actions. Emotions, just as life itself, are complex, hard to grasp, and sometimes contradictory. For my whole life, my orders were to ignore emotion. I am only a weapon in the service of Konoha," was Sai's response after he had given the ring some thought. "Yet despite not feeling them yourself, you seek to understand emotions in others. You were taught to use that knowledge to manipulate your opponents. But to experience and come to terms with them can be difficult. This pain in my chest, then," he said to the ring, "am I damned to live with it forever, if Naruto passes away without my remorse? Should I simply kill my emotions completely and be rid of them?" As he heard, Uzumaki Naruto need not die, nor do you need to bear this pain forever. But your training to abandon emotion is not the way. Without it, life withers into darkness. We implore you, Sai, not to fall into the maw of the black abyss. Do not be ashamed of your fledgling emotions. That is not the way to save Uzumaki Naruto and your comrades from uncontrolled love. Sai asked it, "Can you help Naruto?" "Yes, but not directly." Sai offered, "Then tell me what you need." Grabbing Naruto's right hand, he held the jade ring in his own. "Tell me what I need to do." "You presume incorrectly that it is the green lantern ring that speaks to you." "Huh?" he inquired sharply. "If not you, then what?" He was thinking when a gentle, purplish glow above him broke the silence. "Sai of the planet Earth. You have the ability to feel great compassion." Just above him, Sai noticed a dancing indigo light, and he gasped as he looked up. A ring similar to Naruto's and Hinata's was inside, but its emblem was a plain circle with two arrowheads outside of it, one pointing down and the other up. Sai was immediately approached by the purple-colored ring, which effortlessly slid onto his right middle finger. His eyes suddenly glowed with the symbol of the ring. "Welcome to the Indigo Tribe." Knock. Sakura and Tsunade did not have to wait for the message from the Anbu guards this time. From the Hokage's office, one could see the bright light emanating from Naruto's room. Shizune and the two medic ninjas ran straight through the window. They were all instantly dispelled when the trap jutsus triggered. Sakura briefly believed that the two Anbu, who were standing just past the door on the other side of the room, were responsible. But as soon as she saw the ward's newest resident's outstretched hand, she knew it was his. Sai, the black-haired Anbu Root elite, surrounded by a thin, slowly moving cloud of indigo light, hovered in the center of the room and said, "Greetings, Haruno Sakura." Short leather pants and a plain sleeveless, open, cloth jacket took Sai's place. The symbol that was inscribed in a large medallion tied to a metal collar on his neck was now tattooed on the sides of his upper arms and lower legs. His left hand held a long staff with a large, open pod that glowed brilliantly from within, made of what appeared to be wood and coral. The same tattoo symbol was sewn onto a plain cloth bandana that had taken the place of his forehead protector. Lastly, Sai wore a gleaming indigo-colored ring on his right middle finger, just like Naruto and Hinata. Tsunade gave the new lantern the order, "Back away from them, Sai." Sai responded to her coolly, "There is no need for hostility, Tsunade. Sama," He turned his head to look at Sakura, Shizune, and the Hokage, even though his eyes were closed. Your concern for the well-being of these 5 life forms is justified. I share your resolve to save them. Shizune said, You can save them? His eyes remained closed as he turned his vacant gaze to the sleeping female lantern. The ring of the Indigo tribe allows me to understand fundamental knowledge hidden to others when it is necessary. The malady that is afflicting these 5 is not of the star Sapphire's own doing, nor is it her rings. Hyuga Hinata. She fights against its influence, but the power of love, so far from the center of the spectrum, can be difficult to control. It is time she, and those she desired to protect, be freed from the throes of the violet light. Sakura, Shizune, Tsunade, and the silent Enbu watched intently as Sai moved forward, the misty light supporting his foot with its own. In spite of their reservations, Sai's aura was so full of goodwill and well-intentioned intent that they were forced to just observe. He approached Naruto in midair and lightly touched his forehead. He released Naruto and hovered over to Kiba, leaving a faint tattoo of the indigo symbol on the Green Lantern's forehead. Uzumaki Naruto, your indomitable will seeks to always strive forward, even in the direst of circumstances, to protect those important to you and your Nindo. With his hand phasing through the violet construct as though it were not there, Sai repeated the gesture he had made to Naruto once he reached the crystal trapping the Inuzuka. The tribe's emblem materialized on Kiba's forehead as Sai drifted in Akamaru's direction. Inuzuka Kiba. Your hot-headed loyalty to your comrades and to Akamaru demonstrates your commitment to life in all its forms. The ceremonial movement proceeded with Shino. Inuzuka Akamaru, your stalwart resolve and devotion to your partner is a testament to the tenacity of all sentience. Sai then went on to the unconscious star Sapphire, saying, Aburame Shino. Beneath your cold exterior lies a caring soul that deeply cherishes your bonds with your friends. Hyuga Hinata. You constantly strive to overcome your own doubts and fears with the strength of your heart and your unwavering love. After finishing, Sai strode to the center of the room, where Akamaru and the 4 beds were situated in an imaginary circle. A watery cascade of indigo poured out of his staff and floated around him as he stopped. With both hands on the staff, Sai said, Uzumaki Naruto, Inuzuka Kiba, Inuzuka Akamaru, Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata. And the POD's brightness increased. The power of his tribe blazed in his eyes as they suddenly snapped open. The indigo light of compassion wishes to heal you. The mist that surrounded him spread out to cover the 5 patients as Sai once again whirled the staff around him. Using his right ringed hand to control the flow of the watery light, the indigo lantern started to move the staff in all directions in a rhythmic manner. The violet crystals, captured and held in Sai's summoned power, started to vanish as the purple tide flowed past Naruto, Kiba, Akamaru, and Shino. Hinata's tiara's lone crystal gradually came loose due to the light. As more and more of the violet constructs were absorbed, the star Sapphire's symbol appeared on Sai's forehead. Love. Sai kept calling forth more indigo light from his staff to make up for the indigo flow's changing hue. The constructs surrounding the 4 teenagers gradually deteriorated as the newly christened indigo tribe member continued his dance-like movements. At last, the crystals had been totally removed from Kiba, Shino, Akamaru, and Naruto. High above her, held in place by the indigo light that started to gather around it, was the sapphire that had once been in Hinata's forehead. Sai concentrated all of his summoned mist onto the stone in a single motion, aiming his ring directly at the center of the stone. Bor Naka Mur, Tor Lorik Sai, Ruder, Natromo Fan Tornik. Aben Sir, Ter Lantern Kur Lo Lek Lek Nocton, Sir Tomorrow. Sai's ring emitted a thin but dense beam of indigo light that struck the remaining crystal. In the fluidic light, the remaining shade of compassion's glow changed to Hinata's violet and started to take on a clear form. As the collected light started to solidify, the crystal glowed brightly until it came together to form a 6-limbed creature. When the central crystal was finally broken by the beam from Sai's ring, the event solidified the remaining lantern power rather than dissolving it, exposing a terrifying crystalline monster that was unlike anything Sakura, Shizune, or Tsunade had ever seen. When Tsunade asked, "What have you done?" "Do not be alarmed, Hokage. Sama," Sai said. "I merely summoned the true form of the entity that had possessed Hyuga Hinata." Sakura questioned, "Possessed? That thing?" It was a vaguely insect-like creature, made entirely of crystal, with a thick exoskeleton with spiked edges. Its long, pointed tail danced elegantly but dangerously behind it, and its 6 extremities ended in sharp claws. Its long head was devoid of eye sockets, had a massive mouth lined with 2 rows of jagged teeth, and a hexagonal crystal in place of a nose. A low growl that sounded like grinding metal filled the room from inside its great maw. Believe it or not, this entity is the living manifestation of the violet light, the very essence of the power of love, Sai said. This is the predator. The creature roared and opened its jaws at the exact moment. Its shrill cries shattered the windows and shook the beds, as high pitched as a buzz dot saw cutting through metal. Sakura, Shizune, Tsunade, and the two Anbu had to cover their ears, while Sai was the only one who could withstand its shriek. Shizune questioned incredulously, "That's love?" "I share your confusion as to its form, though the light of compassion allows me to venture an educated hypothesis," Sai replied. He walked slowly up to the predator and raised its hand. When the star sapphire power ring approached Hinata, it must have also come into contact with one of Shino's Kakaichu. Due to the nature foe the violet light, I suspect it must have been a queen ready to mate. Instead of succumbing to love, this insect embraced it, and so was elevated above all others. The light of love transformed it into its living embodiment. The being growled as it inhaled the scent taken from Sai's grasp. "But love," said Sakura, "look what it did to the others. How can love be so vicious? Cannot love also hurt? Can it not carve a bottomless hole in your heart if that love is scorned?" Sai replied. After giving her a quick glance, he continued, "I empathize with you, Sakura-san, and the pain your feelings for Uchiha Sasuke bring upon you." Sakura was taken aback by his words, and she clutched her heart from the flashbacks. Sai faced the predator once more and allowed it to take another sniff at his hand. Just like the rings of the light that birthed it, this entity is drawn to those that feel deep, unrequited love, and do not know what it is to be loved back. The predator's enormous jaws suddenly swung open, attempting to bite Sai's hand off his wrist. The indigo lantern skillfully retreated as he used his ring to enclose the creature in a solid cage. "But this creature is still a newborn," he added without further explanation. "It is too young to temper its love even if it were requited. At this time, all it seeks is to protect love and life. Though its intentions may be pure, just like a warped love scorned, it aims to accomplish this by preserving it in eternal stasis. According to Tsunade, we can't allow it to do that." The entity roared once more in defiance of the Hokage's suggestion, and the two silent ANBUs prepared to execute her order as soon as she gave it. "We have to find a way to keep it under control, and if that doesn't work, kill it." Sai gave a headshake. The predator thrashed in its indigo cage, and Sai had to keep working to keep it from disintegrating. You cannot eliminate the predator just as you cannot eradicate love, and unlike the Biju, the entity cannot be fully controlled by a single individual. Kurenai Sensei was not wrong. It is a testament to Hyuga Hinata's inner strength that she managed to contain it for so long. But she would have lost control of it fully in the end. So too would be the fate of any one host for its power. Sakura told him, "But given all that you suddenly know, something tells me you have a plan." She couldn't tell whether Sai's smile was sincere or not as he turned to face her. The predator briefly ceased its flailing, as though it had grasped Sai's suggestion. Like the Biju, the entity is a being of energy. Although it cannot be destroyed, the energy can be transformed, or in this case, separated. I propose that the predator be divided into two and placed into dual hosts. But it would still be impossible to control. The encased entity growled defiantly at Sai, but for the time being held back from further outbursts. "I do not believe so, Hokage. Sama. Divided, the predator will lie dormant, yet it can still experience life, and so slowly temper itself and find true love." Shizune asked Sai, who would become its hosts. Sai turned back to the three kunoichi and smiled, saying, "Hinata has already shown some proficiency with the entity, and so should be able to fully control half of its essence. As for the second host, she is before us." At his suggestion, the three women gasped, "Wouldn't you agree, Haruno Sakura?" While Tsunade alternated between Sai and the alien he had imprisoned, Shizune and Tsunade gazed at Sakura. "Me?" she exclaimed. "You want to put half of that thing in me? You are a likely choice. You have great love, and great loss, in your heart, do you not?" Sai responded. She objected, saying, "Stop using the Sasuke.kun card." Sai retorted, "But it's not just Sasuke, isn't it? If I may be so bold, why did you become a medic.nin in the first place?" She shouted, "Isn't it obvious?" Sakura sniffed once before taking a deep breath to control the tears in her eyes. "Yes, I want Sasuke.kun back. I can't let him become Orochimaru's next host. But I couldn't let Naruto do it alone. Naruto. He wants to see us together again. Team 7 again." Sakura said. "Is that what you wanted to hear?" Sai replied, "Not me," and then pointed to the predator. At that moment, Sakura became aware that the entity was directly facing her. "Haruno. Sakura. It said abruptly in a calming voice that was completely different from its previous startling screams. Sakura's eyes and focus shifted entirely to the personification of love. The animal snarled once more, but this time it sounded more like a rough purr. Sakura moved closer to the predator without really realizing it. Saku. Shizune objected, but Tsunade extended her arm to her assistant. The Anbu complied with her order to remain motionless as her other arm shot upward. Tsunade. Sama. I trust Sakura, whatever her choice, the Hokage declared. Sakura took 2 more steps to get close enough to the predator. For a while, the two just stared at one another without saying or moving. The love entity flinched a little at first, but then delicately reached with its head and touched her hand as Sakura slowly raised its hand towards it. As one, Sakura and the predator took deep breaths. Do it, muttered Sakura. Sakura, exclaimed Shizune. Sai questioned her, are you certain? When she said, hurry up before I change my mind. Knock. Sai rapped the ground once with the lower end of his staff, causing the predator's cage to shatter. Expecting a swift attack, Tsunade, Shizune, and the 2 Anbu tensed up, but instead the entity extended one arm and touched Sakura's heart. With Hinata's, another of its arms did the same. Haruno. Sakura. Hyuga. Hinata. Great, love. Sai's forehead displayed the star sapphire symbol, the green lantern sigil, and then the seal of his own tribe while the predator was speaking. As 2 crisscrossing arcs of violet and green light poured from the staff's pod, Sai pointed his ring at the entity and said, love. Will. Compassion. The predator was surrounded by the 2 beams, while Sai's ring was the source of a single, thin indigo laser that slowly expanded and covered the symbol of love. Its solid, violet body became ethereal as the 3 lights blended and joined with it. The predator, now transformed into a spectral mist, gave a final, ecstatic roar before its shape divided into 2 smaller but identical forms. One phased directly into Sakura, the other returned to Hinata's body. Ah! Exclaimed the ninja. A single shard of the entity's tail broke off and wrapped itself around Sakura's right middle finger just as its form was about to vanish into her. Once more, the hazy light became a perfect star sapphire power ring. Welcome, Star Sapphire. Sakura's attire instantly changed into a suit comparable to Hinata's in a flash of violet light. The aura that had surrounded the new lantern faded after a brief interval. When Sakura lost her balance, Tsunade hurried over and allowed her to fall onto her waiting arms. Sakura? Asked Shizune. She was asked by Tsunade, how do you feel? It's... No words. Sakura stumbled after saying this. A single tear fell down her cheek as she smiled and held her new ring up to her face. To wear love. It's beautiful. One Anbu shouted, Tsunade. Sama. They're waking up. Looking around, the 2 newly christened lanterns and the other ninjas noticed that the 5 patients were groaning and stirring. Shino grunted and held his head groggily as Kiba and Akamaru both let out loud yawns. Still half asleep, Hinata uttered the words, Naruto. Kun, with weakness. The Hyuga stirred just long enough for the green lantern to awaken. Naruto began to say, Hinata. Thank. But stopped short, falling back into a sound sleep. Astonished Naruto. The following day, he awoke to find the room crowded with people. While Kiba and Akamaru gobbled up the treats his mother had brought earlier, Shino was already upright. Tsunade, Kurenai, and Kakashi were also there. Hinata remained in her bed, but although she was still wearing her power ring, she was now dressed normally. However, Naruto's entire attention was on the 2 people he was now pointing at. Sa.sa. Sakura. Chan? Sai. Your lanterns too? Yep. Smiling, Sakura gave him a peace sign. Knock, confirmed Sai. Naruto grumbled, what the hell does that even mean? I was merely responding affirmatively to your question. Just say yes next time, then, knock it off, Naruto, shunned Sakura. Her remark caused Naruto to jerk back. His tone became slightly more nervous as he asked, you're not gonna go ballistic too, Sakura-chan? Long story, but no, she told him. Hinata and I are in full control of our power rings now. Right, Hinata? Yes, concurred the other Star Sapphire. Kurenai grinned and said, I'm just glad that you're all safe again. Tsunade cut in, don't get too complacent, everyone may be fine now, but that doesn't mean we can let our guard down. According to Kakashi, the nature of these rings and the different lights, there is much we have to follow up on, Hokage. Sama. The 4 of you, she said to the 4 lanterns, I want you in my office tomorrow morning. I have a lot of questions regarding these rings, and the predator. Until then, rest up. No way. Grumbled Naruto. The blonde Green Lantern immediately threw off his sheets and leapt out of bed, saying, "I lost a lot of training in hero days. I gotta make up for that, stat." Everyone in the room twitched their eyes, gasped, or tensed up. Hinata's face turned beet red and she immediately passed out, while Kiba almost choked on a dumpling. "What?" inquired Naruto. He lowered his gaze to himself. To give him a hospital robe, no one had previously bothered to wake him up. He exclaimed, "Gah!" Upon realizing he was nude, he could summon his lantern uniform with a single thought to his ring, but it was already too late. Sakura hissed, "Naruto." She scrunched her face and gritted her teeth, her own violet ring flaring. He stumbled, "So. Sorry, I." Before he could respond, Sakura stepped forward and raised her fist in the air. Shannaroo. Sakura's thoughts triggered the violet ring to create a huge fist construct, and a solid crystal punch smashed Naruto in the face. The Green Lantern was hurled into the village and back, shattering the concrete wall behind him. "Ya!" Naruto screamed as he flew away from Sakura, first from the impact and then using the power of his ring. The younger star Sapphire yelled back, "I'm not done yet," and, showcasing her immediate ring prowess, she immediately followed her teammate out. Everyone, including Akamaru, was sweating when they left the hospital room. "Is the entity inside Sakura out of control again?" Kiba inquired. "I disagree," claimed Shino. "Why?" "Because this is Haruno Sakura's usual behavior towards Naruto." Kakashi asked, "Shouldn't you stop her?" To sigh. The Indigo Lantern anxiously replied, "Clack talk." Even compassion has its limits, as he lightly scratched his own cheek. The joyful lantern chase went on above in Konoha's clear skies. "Get back here, Sakura. Chan. No more. If this is what love is, I'm swearing it off. It's called tough love, pervert. And love conquers all."
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.